Croeso pawb. Hello and welcome to the Play for the Dragon podcast. Wales sports music, not always in that order. We have a special episode today, don't we, Sam?
Oh yes, special.
Do you want to explain the concept of it for everyone?
Right, basically, so we're out of football season now, which is dagger through the hearts of pretty much everybody every single year. And so what we're basically going to do this time, because we haven't got much to talk about with Wales, having sort of milked the Euros from the Welsh perspective as far as we could, we decided we're going to do a series of different podcasts looking at sort of like the best of everything. So what we're going to start with doing is looking at, making 11s, our best 11s for each region of Wales. So we're looking at doing 4, possibly 5. We have to do the research really to see if we can do the 5th, which would be Mid Wales, because I, off the top of my head, can't name anybody from Mid Wales unless we sort of, I don't know, consider the valleys of Mid Wales or something. I don't know, but
maybe outsource the research to Mid Walians.
There you go, exactly. If anybody can
help
us,
I don't know how big a reach the podcast does yet at the minute. So.
If anybody can help us, please do on that one. But anyway, so the 4 main regions that we're going to start with are North East Wales, North West Wales, South East Wales, and South West Wales. So being from North East Wales, as the both of us, we're going to start with North East Wales. Going to be a lot of Wrexham talk, I imagine. Going to be it's going to be interesting. The interesting thing I think for North East Wales is probably not the most numerous. I think South East Wales is going to be with the most players, but there are some proper legends in this list. So the way we've done it, me and Martin, we've both done our own 11, and we're just going to go through it, play position by position, and sort of compare, contrast. I think we'll have a lot of crossover, but also, we both tried to be a bit more controversial in some areas, maybe to sort of keep the conversation. And it'd be really interesting for anybody who's listening to try it out for yourself, because, I don't know about you, Martin, I had a lot of fun doing this, actually, doing the research.
Yeah, definitely, mate, because you just digging through facts and watching old video clips of players scoring goals, and so, the skill compilations, and that is, it's just interesting football history. And as a Wales fan as well, just expand your knowledge of the players that have been in the sides. I mean, my parents are massive football fans, to be honest with you, so I don't hear like the stories a lot of people might hear off their parents who followed Wales through their life as well. So, it's good to learn. And
it's a good point
I've
as well.
Back to the 1800s with one of my players as well. So I'm telling you before, so looking forward to dropping that one on everyone.
I can't say I've done the same level of research in that I've gone back centuries, to be honest. And a disclaimer as well for the listeners is that we are both, I'm 24, you're 24 as well, aren't you, Martin?
I'm 24 still.
Yeah, I'm 25 next month, if anybody wants to get us a Prezi. But so basically that means our sort of era growing up watching Wales has not been the best one.
Until recently, yeah, of course. But, growing up, I used to go to a lot of games, more than I do now, with my parents, in the sparky sort of era, like 2000s, between 2000 and 2004, around these times, and it was pretty painful. It was really painful. All those miles down to the Millennium Stadium.
Like parking up in Newport and getting the train into Cardiff is how we used to do it. And back when it was in the Millennium Stadium as well. But because of that, of course, there will be people that we have excluded, or there will be facts that we are missing and stuff. So we are by no means deluded as to think that we know everything and these 11s are going to be perfect. Everyone will disagree. Of course they will. So good, let's disagree and let's get the conversation going. Who would be in your top 11 for players for North East Wales? Also worth pointing out, some of the players that we've included are English of birth, but qualified because of family members from North East Wales, So that also works. We'll do the same for North West Wales and so on. For example, Kiefer Moore's got to get in the team. And
populate the Mid Wales team, to be honest with
you. Very true.
We also might just be after expats.
But yeah. Anyway, before we get cracking, let's talk about the Euros, Martin. That's the burning point of the day, isn't it? So,
yeah.
What did you think of the final then? So the final was 1-1 after 120. Yep. I went to penalties and it was 4-2. No, 3-2.
3-2 on penalties.
3-2 on penalties to Italy. So what was your overall impression of the game, Martini?
Well, I thought overall Italy deserved to win. To be honest, I thought they were best team over the tournament, most consistent. In fairness to England, probably the 2 best teams this year got to the final, or at least the 2 most consistent teams in terms of their performances. you know, us both being Welsh, I don't want to talk too much smack about Gareth Southgate in England because I'm quite tired of being called bitter at work because there's a lot of England fans in Broughton, you wouldn't believe it. But, you
Really?
know, yeah, quite a few. There's a good balance. So we've got a few Welsh fans who are watching the Lions tour and sort of we backed each other up after the Denmark game. It was a bit rough. I worked the Sunday after that game as well because it was on the Saturday. That wasn't fun.
Not a fun one.
No, not at all. I just thought I don't want to talk about what England did wrong for too long because you know we should talk about what Italy did well. But I thought Gareth Southgate was just quite naive and sort of not changing his tactical approach. Italy sort of really came into the game after 35 minutes. You could see the possession stats gradually sort of swinging the other way. You know, you can say for half an hour, Southgate's system worked really well because they scored a wing back to wing back goal after like 2 minutes. Good finish as well, you got to say. Sort of settled the nerves a bit because it did. I don't know, most finals I've watched, like international level or Champions League final, even if you're not a fan of either team, you are just a bit anxious, like, oh God, what's going to happen here now?
You know what? It's been a long time since we've seen a really good final in anything.
Yeah.
Can it? You know?
It was just a really good game of football. I know a lot of people are moaning that, it was really dirty and the Italians. Did you see that petition on change.org?
Yeah.
The last time I checked.
Are that dirty. No. I thought they gave as good as they were given, to be honest.
That's what
I don't know. It's typical. Do you remember? Well, no, I don't think you were with us actually, but I remember that something that really put this kind of idea into perspective is I went to go watch Wrexham against Newport while I was living in Cardiff. It was in the FA Cup, and it was a replay. And obviously, what was a bit of a pain in my ass is that I wanted to get tickets for the Wrexham end, obviously, but they were only by collect, I believe. They weren't shipping them out, so I had to go in a Newport end. So I went to go and collect my tickets from Rodney Parade wearing a Wrexham t-shirt, which now I realise was really foolish and everything. It was a ridiculous decision. But I got there and the ticket guy was like, I can't give you these tickets. I was like, why not? I've bought them. He's like, I can't give you these tickets. You come here in a Wrexham top, I can't give you the tickets. And I was like, what? Are you joking? You know, I was a bit pissed as well, to be honest. I was like, oh, giving it all this and that. I was like, look, why don't you come back in a minute and see if you can have the tickets? I was like, what you give me now? And then I had a mate with me who was a neutral. He's from Nottingham, Matt Shaw, isn't he? Great guy. But he was in my ear saying, look, he's saying it because you're wearing a t-shirt. Go back, do a lap, zip your top up, zip your hoodie up, whatever, and then get the tickets. That's what he's trying to tell you. So, okay, right. But you know what, that game, we snuck in by accident, right? Genuinely, that game in Rodney Parade, we snuck in looking for the ticket office. I'd never been to Rodney Parade before, so we got there. We weren't drunk, but we'd had a few. We were happy, you know. So you know, we weren't paying that much attention to what was going on around us. We were talking about. I was sort of trying to big up Welsh football or lower league football to this lad who's a huge Nottingham Forest fan. He wasn't having any of it, but we basically just walked into the stadium. He was like, where's the ticket office? It was like, you know, those sort of gates they have at events where it's like you put the metal thing into 2 bricks. Oh, yeah. I don't know what they're called, but yeah. So basically, there was one a bit open. So, it must be through here. So we went through and I walked in. It was like, hold on a minute, they're the seats. so being dead naive, we should have just sat down, but we went back out to try and get the tickets. And then they wouldn't give it me. I was like, I can't believe this. But then basically, I did that. I took a lap, zipped up my hoodie, and then took the tickets. And the guy was like nodding as I did. There you go. Now he understands, right? Okay.
You know, it's a learning curve, isn't it, mate? I mean, we trying to use that story to justify a few hundred England fans rushing the gate at Wembley and breaking in.
You know what? I've completely forgot what my point was, but it's a nice little segue, isn't it? So we'll go with it. We'll go with it. But yeah, that was grim, wasn't it? That was horrible. Really ugly to see. I hate that side of football sometimes, you know.
Were you sort of half expecting something to kick off a bit with England in a final? Because I don't want to.
I don't know.
I want to sort of throw all England fans under the bus, but with it being Italy and them having a bit of a reputation, and with what's been going on for the last year and a half, 2 years, God knows how long, you know.
Yeah.
Gonna try and let off a bit of steam, aren't they?
I actually was genuinely not expecting anything to happen because I don't know, like the whole sort of thing. I've been miles away from the England side or the British side of things in general, you know, being in Spain and that. So I didn't really get a good ear for what the vibe was and everything. But from, you know, looking at social media and things like this, it looked like overall, it was quite just a happy sort of vibe. And everybody was just getting behind the team, being happy in the pubs, celebrating, whatever. So I thought maybe I gave them a bit of the benefit of the doubt. I was like, oh, it's going to be fine. They're just going to, well, I just didn't know what to think. But then it happened. I was like, of course. But there you go. I don't know. I don't want to compare Wales fans to England fans, to be honest, because it's not, it's difficult to compare because there's so many different, variables in between everything. But
we're one of a few nations to have had to have our own fans segregated at international games.
Exactly.
So
yeah, people forget
we might
that.
be the only one. I can't remember what Ellis James said.
But yeah, we have to bear it in mind, don't we? Because although nowadays it's a very inclusive and happy atmosphere and welcome atmosphere. Back in the day, maybe not so much in that. And I understand a lot of the fans wanting to get in and everything. Obviously, when is the next time it can happen? But it was so ugly. The tournament as a whole has been an absolute shower of whatever. It's been awful, hasn't it? The organisation from head to toe has been from bottom to top has been awful. Getting people to travel so much. The fans, England fans can't really complain because 6 or 7 games were at home. But if it were in, it was, I don't know. Let's just say it was Wales in the final in Wembley. I would imagine there would be something similar happening because it would have been the only chance anybody would got to see the bloody game.
I mean, even without a ticket, I don't care. I'll drive 4 hours down from Chester just to be in bloody what's it called, Trafalgar Square in front of the big screen.
Yeah, I would do the same. I'd be there. I'd want to be there for the atmosphere and that. I mean, I was ready for that to happen anyway because I was hoping that we'd get a game in Sevilla, and the minute it was going to be in Sevilla, I would have taken the train down and got there. But it is what it is, isn't it? It's ugly. It's very ugly. I think English fans will let themselves down, and I think there'll be a big period of sort of self-reflection amongst the fan base again. But this is why people don't want to support England, isn't it? I've seen so much, and it happens every time England go far in a tournament. Why can't the Scots and the Welsh get behind England? We get behind them, etc., etc. Well, because of this, really, isn't it? Because I don't want to be affiliated with that, what we saw at the final and after as well, with the racist messages and stuff to the 3 lads who took the pens. Just not nice. But that's enough said about that. I don't want to focus on the negatives. The game was a decent game of football, I think. It was a bit cagey.
Quite enjoyed it. Yeah, it's always annoyed me because every game I've watched of the knockout stages, I've had work the next day and I've been like, okay, just wrap it up in normal time.
Yeah,
I've got to be up at 5 in the morning and start at 6. So try not to drag it on. And every single one has gone to at least extra time, and all but one have gone to penalties. So I was pretty sure it got penalties because we work on bloody Monday morning.
Sod's law.
Yeah, like we said a minute ago, though, England just sort of grew out of the game. They were a bit too late making their changes. What shocked me about Southgate's approach throughout the tournament, you've got that much creative flair and talent in like the attacking midfield and winger roles, and you're just not trying to rotate or sort of try any new sort of combinations of players in there, and you stick into having the 2 holding midfielders. What's wrong with dropping like Foden or Mount into central midfield as more of a box-to-box sort of playmaker type? You've got Calvin Phillips has been phenomenal this tournament.
Calvin Phillips.
We've both got a bit of a soft spot for Leeds. We lived there for 3 years and 5 years. So
exactly, yeah, I love Calvin Phillips. I think he's brilliant.
He was saying when they're in the Championship, if he keeps playing like he does when they get into the Premier League, he'll be shoo-in for that England team because he's the kind of player that can make midfield tick.
Right.
He just does he's like Sam Warburton in the Wales side. He just does all the dirty work, sort of breaking down the ball that no one really wants to do, but it has to be done.
Sure. Him and Rice, I thought him and Rice had a wicked tournament, But I think you're right. I think, what interested me as well, which is a bit typical, is that all through the tournament, as they were getting the results, Southgate's got it right, got to get behind Southgate's decisions. The final, he gets it wrong, everyone turns on him, Southgate out. It's just what happens in modern football, isn't it? But I thought Southgate's approach in the final was a bit maybe, I think, naive in the sense that I think he knew what he was doing. I think he very nearly pulled it off, really. I mean, the goal that Italy scored was a sloppy goal. He had better opportunities, wasn't it? But I think, they should have looked for a second earlier, maybe. I mean, the minute that Italy scored extra time, penalties. I just knew it for because Italy both of their defenses have been outstanding all tournament, haven't they? Italy and England, maybe more so Italy. How many goals did Italy concede in the end? 3, 4.
They got 1 in the quarters, 1 in the semis,
So
1
3.
in the final.
And before
England
that,
only conceded 2. One was a free kick, and it was the who scored? Was it Chiellini? Bonucci.
Bonucci scored the goal.
It was that was their only.
It's going to Rome. It's going to Rome.
Great. If you can get them to stop saying it's coming home, that's what we like to.
Oh, yeah.
But that was the first goal England conceded from open play actually in the tournament. So that's how well they've defended. But
yeah, well, Pickford had a wicked tournament as well. It was really good. Pickford surprised me. It'll be rubbish now. He goes back to Everton. The minute he gets back in a blue shirt, it'll be a load of rubbish.
Well, he hasn't got the Yorkshire world in front of him.
Yeah.
So back to playing with Yerry Mina and I won't watch Everton.
And oh god, what's his name? He came from Burnley.
Tarkat? No, Michael Keane.
Michael Keane. Yeah. There you go.
FIFA knowledge. One interesting thing I did see in the England game, and I don't know if it was the build-up or when they were going around the stands as they do during the games sometimes, but David Beckham and Tom Cruise were sat together.
Yeah, Tom Cruise looked like a troll, man. He looked so bad, didn't he? He looked awful.
I've got a question for you though. Like, do you reckon it's more likely that Bex was trying to sign Tom Cruise on as an investor for Inter Miami? Or do you think Cruise is out there scouting for the Church of Scientology? Because I reckon Beckham might be dumb enough to.
Very possible if he's not already. I don't know. Yeah. My favorite thing about Tom Cruise is his teeth. Have you ever seen his middle tooth, Tom Cruise?
So yeah, it's half his body, isn't he? Because he's tiny.
Yeah, it's like one tooth is just the front 2 teeth are just to the left or to the right. So he's just got one. If you perfect alignment like that. He's got a middle tooth and it's beautiful. So every time I see Tom Cruise now, I look at that.
I feel sorry for whoever's editing his photos for his social media. That's mission impossible.
Because the mission was impossible, bro.
Yes, blood. Shall we? Well, who else impressed you in Euro 2020?
Well, this is what I was going to ask. Did you have a team, apart from Wales, obviously, that you just really rooted for?
Not really, to be honest with you. I didn't want to root for Denmark because they knocked us out, but they played some quite nice football. I
am quite bitter about Denmark still, to be honest.
Yeah, it's 3 losses in our last 3 games for them now, isn't it? Shipped about 7 goals, which isn't great. Yeah, most of the teams I thought would do well were quite disappointing because I thought most of the big teams would do well, like a moron. Yeah, the Czech Republic played quite well to get to.
Yeah, bad news for us as well for the World Cup qualifiers. It was a good job we've already played one against them and got a result. Because I think one of the best players of the tournament was Schick, or however you pronounce it. Yeah. Their centre forward who scored. I think he was joint top goal scorer, wasn't he, with Ronaldo?
I think he was. No, I think Kane ended up winning the gold.
Did he actually?
Did he? I can't remember.
I don't know, but that Schick, he got sent off against us, didn't he? Because he I don't want to. How do you say it without swearing?
Pretend to elbow Connor Roberts.
He gave Connor Roberts something. I think he sort of threw him to the ground, wasn't it, in the box or something, by his head or something like that. So shit going off in the 50th minute probably was more of a blessing than we realised at the time. But
it took us till late in. Was it second half added time when Dan James leaped like a salmon to head it in?
Like a salmon. Yeah, I think it was actually. I think it was late in the second half. But that now looks like an absolutely stunning result for Wales now, doesn't it?
If you look at how Belgium played over there, so I know De Bruyne came on against sort of Denmark and turned the game, and look how we fared against them. But we've got them at home. Hopefully, should be some capacity of fans back in the Cardiff City Stadium by then. So if you're going to back us to get a result against any of the big teams in like top 10, it's probably Belgium.
I think the Belgian thing is that they've got such a weird mix of like stars, quality, like really real, like world-class players like Lukaku, who I think might have been my favourite striker of the tournament, to be honest. I'm not a Lukaku fan. I didn't like him at Everton, didn't like him at United. I thought he was slow and a bit lazy. But you see him playing for Belgium, man. He is like a train. He's like a freight train, isn't he?
Yeah. And he's had the season of his life for Milan as well. Exactly. He's been breaking goal-scoring records for them, hasn't he?
So Lukaku is great. But you look at the back and that, and you've got Alderweireld and I think Vertonghen played the majority of the tournament as well. I mean, if you can get at them, then you're going to have a good go at it. Really, it's all about keeping the top, the strikers and the sort of the attacking midfielders quiet as much as you can, or just outscoring them and that, you know, because I think this tournament has again showed with with Belgium that you can get at them 100%. It's just a matter of, can you hold on to the result, because they'll just outscore you maybe.
Yeah.
But I don't know. You saw the goal. I know this is Italy scoring, but Insigne's goal against Belgium. All this time and space in the world and that.
Exactly.
So. But honestly, I think the team I enjoyed watching the most throughout the whole tournament was actually Italy. To be perfectly honest, I really enjoyed watching Italy, and mainly like what we talked about with Ali and everything is the fact that usually watching Italy is a bit of a bore. They're so defensive and so pragmatic and everything, but this tournament they've just been so forward, and they've really gone direct, and they've gone at it and everything, you know, and just players I'd never heard of before the tournament. You know, you had, I think what's his name, Spinazzola from he plays for Sassuolo, I think it is, and Locatelli and people like great. Really good. I love that. I like that a lot about a lot of the teams, actually. It seems like with international football, the sort of pedigree, let's say, where you have to play at the top level and everything to be in a team, even if you're not as good as someone in the league below you, whatever, because you play for a bigger team, you get in the team. That seems to have gone a little bit. I mean, if you look at the England team, even, you had players from Leeds, West Ham, you know, Everton.
Picking more on form nowadays.
Exactly. And I like that.
It did just used to be a meritocracy. Well, can you call it a meritocracy based on it being you playing for a big team? Wouldn't that more mean that you've played well in the season? You know, I'm grasping at though. It's just you have to play for the big four to get in the England side, unless you've been managed by the manager previously and he was a fan of you or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Good tournament. Don't know if it was worth waiting a whole year for. Would have. I don't know if I'd have preferred to have been in Baku last year, though, to be honest with you. So.
Yeah, well, but I don't know. I think the format of the tournament really let it down, you know. And we'll see how Qatar is and everything, because, you know, I think are they doing it in the summer? Because I was talking about them doing it in the winter and stuff, isn't it?
I think they're doing it in the winter. I've seen something saying it starts in November, which I don't know how long they want it to last, but I thought they were expanding the World Cup, so it might run into Christmas, which would
that's just going to be another absolute disaster.
So what do we do for the Boxing Day football? I think non-league football non-league football should still happen when there's an international window, because it's tough shit. If you've got international players, you'll do without them.
Exactly, yeah. The National League really don't. They're not here to help you out. The National League, are they? Look at Wrexham, man. With because they're in the Welsh FA, they don't get the same transfer deadlines and everything. They're like, not my problem, boys. You know, just genuinely.
That's your guys. They didn't want to join us, so you're their problem. I'm sorry.
In it, exactly. It's a nightmare. But there you go. But yeah, so for me, I think my favourite team of the tournament were Italy. What about you?
Yeah, probably Italy overall. Like you said, they played really nice football. I think Mancini nailed 2 or 3 game plans though for the tournament. And when they against Spain, they sat really deep and they defended when they had to and sort of scored and tried to sit on it. It didn't quite work. But like with the England game, I sort of the reverse of the England game, isn't it? Because they scored after and then took it to extra time. But so they played more pragmatically when they had to, like an Italian team, you know, we're used to seeing. But considering like how many tournaments they've missed, and they haven't really got any superstars like they had in the past, like Totti, Del Piero, Maldini, Cannavaro, any Buffon even. You could say Donnarumma might be becoming a bit of a superstar, like Insigne and Immobile are big names, Verratti too at PSG, but you look at, you know, Ronaldo at Portugal, Pogba, Benzema, but I mean, the France team, Mbappe laden with them.
Sure, yeah.
So they sort of won a tournament without sort of elite. So they've got plenty of world-class players in that side. But
yeah, I couldn't agree more. And for smaller teams, I would have said Hungary, but everything that sort of happened with the fans and that, really ugly. We've seen again that.
Well done for not being the whipping boys of the group of death, but maybe you deserve to.
Yeah, maybe you deserve to be.
But you know, that's Pogba's fault. That's bloody bull sniffer Joachim Löw's fault. I will be happy to never see that shitty Beatles haircut on the sideline again.
I'm going to miss him.
You're about 60, mate. Stop dyeing your hair jet black like Corella Deville. It's not cool.
I'm going to miss watching German football and being like, oh, is he going to sniff it? Is he going to sniff it? I'm going to miss
Well,
that.
football's worst scratch and sniff book.
That's awful. Bloody hell. But yeah, right. So we said before the podcast we're going to have a go at off the cuff.
Oh yeah, we're going to do this on the fly, aren't we?
Yeah. So I'm going to say let's make it easy and just give ourselves straight away a formation. What formation would you like? I think the majority of teams this year
4-3-3.
4-3-3, I think, isn't it? So
yeah, I think that's what the actual team of the tournament was as well.
Well, there you go. Let's go with that then. So
attacking mid or holding mid.
I reckon we go for attacking mid because there's some players. Yeah. Oh, I don't know actually because Verratti was so good, and he was a bit of a holding midfielder, I guess. I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we come.
We'll decide. We'll decide later. We'll pick 3 midfielders and see how we arrange them.
Aye.
I think the goalkeeper's a bit of a shoe-in, but I would like to give a special mention to Danny Ward.
Danny Ward is the choice, no?
Oh, right. I was going to say Donnarumma.
Yeah, no, it has to be Donnarumma, doesn't it? It's a shame for Danny Ward because if Donnarumma didn't do what he did in the semis and the final in the penalty shootouts and that, because apart from that, he's had bugger all to do, to be honest with you.
I'll say T-Rex Arms Pickford did quite well. I think he won the Golden Glove actually.
I think he did. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, 4 clean sheets it would have been, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So fair play to him, but I'd say Danny Ward's second. I don't know if he still retained his stat, but at the end of the group stages, he had the highest expected goals prevented stat. He was preventing about 3.7 expected goals a game. Sorry, non-football manager players for delving into XG and whatnot. I think he also made 14 saves from clear-cut chances or like key shot or whatever the metric they use is in 3 games. So he's been pivotal to us.
Yeah, I mean we've spent since really the inception of this podcast just singing Danny Ward's praises.
We named an episode after him.
There you go, Danny Ward, my lord, Danny Ward. That has to be a chant. If I get the credit for that, and that goes into when the fans come back in the Cardiff City Stadium, we're going Danny Ward, my lord.
I wonder if either of us have put him in on North East Wales 11, being a Wrexham boy.
I couldn't do it. I would have loved to, but there's one name too big. In every sense of the word.
I was going to say. It's all right, I've got a bit of a history lesson for you in that position, but let's...
Okay.
So we've got Donnarumma.
Right, so centre-backs.
I don't want to shove too many Italian players in.
Well, I was thinking
I
Chiellini.
feel like we have to put Chiellini and Bonucci in there.
Who could rival them? At least one of them has to be in there. But who could challenge?
Kajaya, that I don't know how to pronounce his name, the Danish captain.
The Danish one. I don't know. Does it begin with an S?
No, it's KJAER or something.
Right. That could be a shout because when
he played well.
The non-football side of things as well, with the whole Christian Eriksen thing, he really stepped up to the plate there, I guess.
Oh, just on one go blank. I mean, it kills me to say that we could throw Maguire or Stones in there because
the thing with Maguire, he didn't play the first few games, did he? So for me, that sort of disqualifies him. Kyle Walker had a very good tournament, and he was playing as part of the 3, but But again, it feels a bit weird putting Kyle Walker as a centre back, doesn't it? Like in a 2 anyway.
I wouldn't mind putting him in as a right back potentially if he's pretty quick.
There's a centre back for Spain which I've got my eyes on, which was played really well, and there's a lot of talk around here. Pau Torres. I don't know if you know.
Oh yeah, the Villarreal player.
He was excellent. He was really, really good throughout the tournament. To be fair, Spain really didn't concede many goals either. So.
Save us picking an Italian defence. Shall we go for Donnarumma, Pau Torres, and...
Chiellini Bonucci scored the goal,
I'll give it up to your choice, mate. Your choice.
Oh, God, that's so difficult. I think Chiellini...
It's coming Rome or the old man.
It's going to Rome. But I don't know, with Chiellini, it was like more his demeanour and everything. Like, I don't know, with the Spain-Italy game, when he went to penalties, he was there laughing and joking and having keeping it really light and stuff. And for me, imagine to him, it's probably
seems like got in the head of
maybe. I think it was. I think he was generally just happy to be there and just having the time of his life and everything.
Because he retired, didn't he? And then he came out of retirement before this tournament.
Exactly. So, although Bonucci scored the goal, it was a poacher's goal. So I'm going to give it to Chiellini because.
Yeah.
Let's go with that. So Pau Torres.
Coming out of retirement to help your team in a tournament, and then you go and win the whole thing. That's a happy ending for anyone.
There you go.
Perfect.
All right. So now we're down to right back and left backs. Yeah. So.
Well, after 2 games, I would have said Spinazzola, but he got injured, didn't he?
But I think he played that well in those games. I'd feel bad taking him out. Maybe. But who could replace him at left back? It hasn't been.
If we leave Kyle Walker out, I would be happy to put Luke Shaw in, because I think he's had an excellent tournament, and in fairness to him, he's played really well for United this year.
Jordi Alba.
Jordi
Alba, I thought had a really good tournament, but that's because I watched so much of Spain. Really, I think he had quite a good tournament. He took over for the captaincy role from Busquets. While Busquets was isolating because of testing positive for coronavirus. So I chuck his name into the hat. I didn't think Ben Davies had his best Euros, to be honest. And I thought, Connor Roberts could be a shout.
He did okay.
He did quite well. He was, it was a shame. Maybe
we missed him when he went off injured.
Exactly. Yeah, I think maybe it would have been a different story if he was still on the pitch. To be honest, it was Nico Williams with that hospital pass, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I would say Spinazzola for the left back role, to be honest.
I can go with that.
Let's go for that, Spinazzola, because I think he's probably come out of the tournament with the most sort of rise in his value.
Yeah.
So I've definitely spelled it wrong, but Spinazzola, I reckon it is, because it's 2 Z's, which I think in Italian, I don't know. I just don't know. Spinazzola or Spinazzola, I don't know. And right back.
Spinach Holler.
Holler. Spinazzola. And for right back, Kyle Walker, we talked about. I thought Kyle Walker was really great, to be honest. Who else have we got in right back then? I think Kyle Walker made the official.
Doing it on the fly. I'm just trying to think who got quite far in the tournament and go from there.
Sure. I mean,
Kufal in the Czech Republic didn't do so badly.
Good shout.
He's had a good year for West Ham as well.
It's true. Could be.
I think he got a couple of assists.
Did he actually?
I think he might have got 1 or 2.
Oof, I don't know. I'd have to give it to Kyle Walker, I reckon. Are you all right with that?
Yeah, that's fair. I just didn't know how many England players you had sticking, so I've got a few in for the midfield.
Sure. Well, let's have a look then. So let's go to the attackers. Your centre forward of the tournament, who would it be? For me, I would
say Schnick, just because of the goals he scored.
For me, it's him or Lukaku.
Yeah, I was going to say Lukaku's some of the goals he scored as well, and the season he's had as well for Inter. Like he's just taken that form, carried it into the Euros, and like you said, against some of the teams, he just looked unplayable. Absolutely bullying those Russian defenders.
Yeah, for real. They both got to the same stage of the tournament, didn't they? They both got to the quarters. But Schick or Stick, whatever, he scored more, I suppose. What do you want from a centre forward? You want goals, innit?
Yeah, and you could make a case for him getting goal of the tournament against
Scotland, yeah.
Also goalkeeper Alan McGregor, is it?
Yeah.
He got mugged off a little bit. Like,
what's
he doing? What's he doing now?
Typical goalkeeper, typical modern goalkeeper. They just want to be the centre of attention.
Modern goalkeeper, he's about 42 or something, mate. He's dead old.
Maybe I spoke about goalkeeper nowadays. You see like Edison and Alisson bloody scored in the season.
I remember when David James did that when he played for Man City.
And he came out with a number 1 on an outfield shirt and everything.
But no, he was playing as a goalkeeper. I think they must have had a corner or something. He just ran up. I was watching match. It was absolutely crazy. I was like, what on earth are you doing? They were like, I think it was 1-1 or they were losing. So they must have been chasing the game. And I can't remember the name of that Chinese centre half they had. It was Sun something. But because David James was at the other end of the bloody pitch, he had to go sprinting back 60 yards and clear the ball off the line. I remember he shot him a glare, are you going to get back in your goal or what?
But let's go with Schick. Top goal scorer in the tournament. I think equal with Ronaldo, so why not? And for that goal, I mean, no matter what happened, no matter how bad it was from McGregor, to shoot from there and to get it on target is, always looks easier than it is, So let's go for that. All right, then. So we've got our 2 attacking midfielders. What are you saying?
Are you thinking? Wait, you mean wingers, like?
Yeah, sure.
Like, sort of forward midfield.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, there's the obvious candidates of like Sterling, Chiesa.
Chiesa, man.
Chiesa's been brilliant this.
Unbelievable. I love.
He was one of the players that really grew into the game against England as well. He was
the goal he scored
against
Spain was a great one in the semis. But I'd be tempted to go for Chiesa, for example.
Yeah, I'd be happy for that. I'd put him on the right wing. Have him cutting inside.
Chiesa.
And then Mbappe on the left. Oh yeah, wait. I don't think he even showed up for the tournament.
Well, he's the reason he went out with that penalty, wasn't it? But
a lot of pressure on a young lad again, though.
Right.
But if you've got that price tag behind you, got to back it up.
You got to back it up, 100%. Yeah. Well,
annoyingly, I've deleted my Euro 2020 app now because the fantasy football thing's over, which you finished last in, by the way. I
finished last. I completely lost focus on it, and I got to a point where I was like, I just.
Sure, you did.
It's gone. It's gone. I had a bunch of players in the team that hadn't. I didn't change the players that were eliminated in it, so I just completely because it was going well, and then it got to the point where I started going out to watch your games. so
I have to say right now, you're taking the loss like an England fan.
I am going to start a petition. Man, and if I get 6 signatures, that's enough for me, and then it's going to Parliament.
That's probably about as many listens as we get, so you might get
happy days.
Nice big half baker's dozen.
Happy days.
Tidy.
Good. So
we need a left winger. He's a good shout for left wing.
He played well, although he went missing.
Dani Olmo, is he a left winger?
Dani Olmo was going to be my shout, to be honest. Him against Italy, he basically sort of pulled the entire team by himself, and he set up that goal as well with that cheeky little 1-2 with Morata. And
I know we've already selected a right back, but I've just had a really good one come to mind that we'll get onto it. Well, I think it's Denzel Dumfries, Netherlands player.
How have we forgotten about him?
Scored plenty of goals.
Well, they are. Walker can sod off.
Let's and then there's room for my English pick, which I'm quite
there you go. I thought Depay played very well.
He did. Wijnaldum as well.
Wijnaldum was excellent, but then they went out quite early also in the quarters. So I don't think that should be a barrier to them getting selected per se. But, when other players continue to play well, then it sort of does, go against you a little bit. So left mid, I would say Dani Olmo.
I'm happy with that.
Let's have it, Dani Olmo.
I think he was unlucky with that. He missed one of the penalties.
Yeah, he skied it. Yeah, Rosetta.
You said he's had a good season for his club this year, though, didn't you? Well, obviously, if he
plays for Leipzig. Yeah, he plays for RB Leipzig. So, I mean, the German league is probably one of the main leagues that I know the least about, to be honest. So I pay the least attention to, which is weird because it's, technically speaking, probably the most similar to the English league, I think, innit? They say anyway, with the pressing and whatnot. But playing for RB Leipzig. RB Leipzig had a very good season. They started really well, and they were quite clear, I think, actually at the top of the table, and then it just all went to pot. Went out in the Champions League against Liverpool. But I mean, Dani Olmo for me he's so ugly. He's just so ugly. He is a proper thumb of a person, but good footballer. So let's stick him in. Cool. So we got the midfield 3 now. So it depends if we're going to go for the holding midfield or attack.
Okay. I'll put forward a case for a holding midfielder. We've already spoken about him today, and we've dropped Kyle Walker, so we have one room for a token English player. And since he plays for Leeds, why not?
Have it, yeah.
Calvin Phillips.
Good old big Calv.
In the first 5 games, there was only 2 players that won the ball back more than Calvin Phillips. One was Højbjerg.
He got a couple of
one
assists.
played for Spain. He did. He set up the first one against Croatia. But he won the ball back 28 times in the first 5 games, and probably more as the tournament went throughout. So if you want a ball-winning midfielder, please sign him Arsenal, because let's be honest, Xhaka's gone and Partey's not lived up to the price tag. So.
They're saying, has Xhaka actually gone?
Apparently, there's a deal in principle with Roma agreed for about 12
Roma signed
million.
Patricio, that surprised me.
It did. That's decent. interesting signing. Might open the door for Danny Ward. I've heard a rumour. I think we've
That would be
spoken about for
excellent.
Danny Ward to Wolves. That'd be a top signing.
Even Hennessy.
Reminiscent of Hennessy being there.
Yeah, well, Hennessy might even go back being a free agent. You see?
He might. I bet Chelsea. That'll probably be for the homegrown rule.
Yeah, but it's something, you know, if you're training with
start 30, 40 games for a championship team though, easily.
Yeah, that's the big question with Heno, isn't it? Do you want him playing day in, day out at a lower level, or do you want him training with the very best but not playing?
Yeah.
It's a tough one that we probably don't fully understand as sort of, you know, armchair critics and that. So I don't know. But anyway,
we've played, but not very well.
I haven't played for 15 years now, probably, and I'm only 24.
To be fair, I played not six aside. We played Sunday League 11 aside, a training game fairly recently where we ended up doing 3 halves, and I was unable to walk properly for about 6 days. It was quite fun doing jiu-jitsu at the same time, but it is a lot on the ground.
Christ.
But I played surprisingly well as a
you always do the
defender
first
in a
game
back three. Yeah,
that's why
I haven't been since.
Exactly.
I'll just leave it at that. I'm happy. I had a shot on goal. Only made one mistake, and that did cost us a goal from a corner. But it was one of my mates that scored, so I didn't really mind. I just called him a prick. And I played a few decent balls in that set chances up. So I hate the term pre-assist, but I was a bit of a provider.
They are.
Yeah.
Key passes.
Lost my turn of pace I found in the last 3 years after about 20 minutes. So.
There you go. But I don't know. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? When you go back to play football, you have a great first game, and the second game you're absolutely dog shit. And the game after that, you're like, I'm going to stop coming.
It's weird because your cardio's come back because you've had that first explosion of having to do extensive exercise, like sort of using your lactic acid system and then a bit of anaerobic and aerobic. And you're just dead for about 5-6 days afterwards.
Yeah.
And you go back the next week and you find running for about 60 minutes, but then you're like, why can't I play a ball in a straight line? I've missed 12 headers today. I've been shouted at 3 times. I will go home on the 4th.
Right, there you go. In a strop.
Oh, it's my ball.
So we got
midfielders.
We got Calvin Phillips. Who else are we putting in there?
Are we thinking Verratti, or are we having too many Italians?
I was thinking Verratti. I mean, how many?
He has been excellent.
1, 2, 3. That would be the 5th Italian. But screw it, Verratti. They won it.
They did win, and it's under half because you can't have half of 11. Well, you can't have 5.5 players because that'd be cruel. And I'm sure Geneva would have something to say about it. Right. Sure, it's written in the convention.
So then, we have to go for an attacking midfielder then, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what would
you know what was weird? I believe Paul Pogba was in the actual team of the tournament.
He scored a screamer, didn't he? But
yeah, but
what else?
What did he do apart from that?
I mean,
I just don't understand why people.
He does play much better for France than he does for Spain.
He does, because he's got Kante doing all the legwork for him that he's too lazy to do.
Truth. It's very true. There you go.
Not a fan of Pogba if anyone's not worked that out by now. Wijnaldum.
Shout. As a number 10, Wijnaldum. I'll have that because he was
bagging goals in as well. He's a bit of a tribute for you as a Liverpool fan. I think he was, yeah.
He's gone to PSG now, hasn't he? So that means
that's a good move for him.
2 of our 11 have gone to PSG on free deals. And
I believe PSG have now got 9 goalkeepers in the senior squad with the sign of Donnarumma, right? That was a Twitter stat that might be wrong. So.
Well, that's how you know that football's going to the dogs, isn't it? There you go. Right then. Cool. So before we go
make
to
a graphic of that full 11 at the point. I like that. We'll make one on Canva and stick it on the socials.
There you are. So before we go on to our North East Wales thing, which we're going to sort of bill as the main event, let's talk a little bit about the Welsh teams in Europe and how well they've done or how not well they've done. So let's start with Connors Quay because they were the first game, no? So the first game they lost.
No, I think Newtown.
God, you know what? I completely forgot.
I think they played the day before, but their second leg was just earlier because Connors Quay were in the Champions League, so
I completely forgot Newtown even qualified.
Yeah, no, they were. They lost 1. Yeah, they lost 4-0 in the first leg, and it was 1-0 in the second, I think. So 5-0 on aggregate. They did really well because they got
bad,
the
didn't it?
European spot through the playoffs. But I saw I didn't read the full article. I had a bit of a skim through it. But their manager, I can't remember his name, but he was talking about
it can't compete.
Can't compete because of the funding. I've heard a few people suggest maybe moving the Welsh Premier League to like more of a summertime league. Because you look at how the Welsh Cup, I know there's probably a lot of people itching to go to any football game because of the various lockdowns. But you see how many people have just attended first round Welsh Cup games this week. On Twitter, every man and his dog and every woman and her cat has been going to see the local team. Real won a real derby 10-0 in their first competitive game.
Some of those
they
goals
won the second game 3-0. So, oh yeah.
But
unlucky Real Dragons.
Sorry about it. I don't even know what division are Real Dragons in. I've never heard of them before.
I couldn't tell you, mate.
I have no idea.
They've got I think they've got St Asaph City in the next round, so that'll be another nice little derby clash. Yeah. I don't know if I'll be done at work in time to get back to Real for a 2:00 kickoff. So.
That'd be good though, wouldn't it? If you can
fax it in.
I love that idea, to be honest, playing it, because we always, like we talked about in a couple of podcasts ago when Lewis went a bit of a impassioned sort of rant about the standards. It comes down to competition, doesn't it? I think more people would watch it if it wasn't clashing with, Man City, Chelsea or whatever. Definitely people would watch it more. So if it's in the
You're not going to compete with the Premier League with the animal it is now.
100%. And
You've
nowadays,
got to create a realistic alternative to it that is going to sort of have its own thing to get people in to watch.
I don't think it's a bad shout at all. I mean, the weather's not going to screw you over in Wales in the summer, is it? I mean, you're going to have very hot days and that every now and then, but overall it's quite sort of tepid. It's quite normal. Oh. So I really like that idea. For me, you have my seal of approval on that one. If you're listening, FAW, sort it out. But yeah, so
get a chief executive, buck your ideas up. Let's sort this league out, and it'll improve the standard of the national team. I guarantee you.
Right, proper.
Come on.
Without that, you've got players playing for the national team now, like Ben Cabango, who had a season on loan at TNS. So it should really. I think you're right. I think it should be a pathway, like we said in the other thing. The Welsh Premier or Cymru Premier should be a pathway to.
I have a full-time score from Balatan for you.
Oh, go on then, because that was on.
It is from 44 minutes ago. So they must have just finished when we started recording. They lost 1-0 away to Larne FC, unfortunately. So that's 2-0 aggregate.
Shame.
Unlucky Lakesiders.
Unlucky David Edwards couldn't help him out then, I suppose.
No. Who's the other one? Oh, Rutherford's from Wrexham.
And Paul Rutherford as well.
Chris Venables. But, they're getting in a good habit of qualifying for Europe every 2-3 years.
A very likeable side. They play a nice brand of football. They tend to be high-scoring games, the Bala games. So if you are a neutral, you're looking for a team to support in the Cymru Premier, Welsh Premier, Bala might be your shout, to be honest. Also, very nice lake.
Oh, yeah. And don't listen to Lewis talking about your wobbly centre line. That's just him being pedantic.
Yeah, Lewis Sutton. Anyway,
he's not here to defend himself, so we'll leave it there.
Connors Key lost 1-0, didn't they?
They did. It went to extra time against FC Alashkert, the Armenian champions. I don't know if that's right.
It's, I don't know. I might put it.
I said it with enough conviction.
Yeah, that's it. It's about confidence.
They're unlucky. They dragged the game into extra time. They've done away with the away goals rule now because I completely forgot. I thought, oh bugger, if they don't score in 90 minutes, they're just going to go out and get diddled again on away goals. But
no, not to be. Did you see the one fan that went?
Oh yeah, that was absolutely amazing.
I love it.
How on earth did it? I wonder what his flight itinerary was like to get to Armenia in this current health climate.
I've no. Maybe he lives there, or maybe he lives in Turkey or something, and he's been able to get there because of that. But bloody hell, that is some commitment. That is some proper commitment.
These England fans thought they were brave getting the train down from Carlisle to Wembley. That's
try getting to Armenia, son.
Exactly. Well, we had enough job trying to get to Azerbaijan, let alone get in there. So.
Proper. And so Connors Key, that was for the one Champions League spot that we have now.
Since they are the double champions.
Exactly. So no Champions League spot once again for any of the Welsh teams, but that does mean that they go down to the Europa League, is it? Or the Conference League?
The Europa Conference League. They'll be playing FC Pristina, who are a team from Kosovo, I believe, and that is on the 20th of July. So is that Tuesday or Wednesday next week?
You know, Wales away, we need to invent Wales Premier away. Just be going to these utter corners of the world, like Kosovo and Armenia and everything. That would be wicked, man. If we built up a nice crowd of people going to these games, that'd be so cool.
The thing is with some of these more, I don't know how to refer to them as more obscure countries to play football in, let's say in various corners of Europe. Would it not probably be, maybe not the flights, but sort of the accommodation and the pints and whatnot, would it not usually be a bit cheaper? So it'd average out as a holiday. And then you get to see just I mean, no offense to the country of Moldova, for example, but you're probably not going to go there on holiday unless you have family from there or you have a specific thing you want to see. But, if your team's playing there,
yeah,
you're going to go.
Maybe we're going to pioneer something here, Martin. The end of pandemic, people are itching for anything, aren't they? So.
Well, we've got a terrible website up and running now, so we could put a little travel agent section on and get Lewis on the phones with a cute little headset. He'll love it.
With his low voice just scaring them all away.
Anyway,
wow, I mean, we have had some good news, haven't we? Which is TNS going through, winning 2-0 against Gorwent.
Glentoran. Glentoran.
Where did I get Gorwent from?
Gorwent.
Anyway, TNS.
You thought they were playing in the Welsh Cup, didn't you?
Quite possible. So there you go. TNS won 2-0. So that's 3-1 in aggregate. So brilliant. TNS progress. Hooray.
Fantastic. We have two teams in the second round.
In the European Conference League, yeah?
Kay Connor and Asante Newydd.
Ascentia Newydd. Saintia. But like in a North Walian accent, any I becomes an A. So Saintia Newydd. Saintia Newydd. There you go. Anyway, Kay Connor, Ascentia Newydd, Club Peldroed Bala. Well, Bala are out there. Dre Newydd, his new town as well. But there you go. We've got two in the Conference League, so all we need to do is to keep them in there so they can have a game against Tottenham.
It'll go towards that, the UEFA coefficient rankings that denote how many qualifying spots you get. So if one of them can maybe not get to the group stage, but get to the last qualifying round, that might
we'd do some success.
Or something. Yeah.
We'd do some success somewhere in the European leagues. Eventually,
I can't tell you how good Kosovan football is either. I'll have a quick look who TNS is playing. You finish the point I rudely interrupted.
I watched, on the topic of Kosovo, I watched this thing on Netflix. It's about this documentary about the world's like most dangerous and most weird sports. And I think it was Kosovo. Is it Kosovo when they're obsessed with horses? I think it's either Kosovo or Mongolia. I can't remember. But anyway.
I think it might be Mongolia.
Well, that was poos on my point. But I was going to say there's no horses in football, so it's fine either way. Anyway, so yeah, it's been good. Also, just quickly in the rugby, Wales, Argentina.
Oh, sorry. TNS are going to be facing Lithuanian side, FK Kono Zalgiris in the second qualifying round, and that will be on Tuesday the 20th as well. So both Connors Key and TNS are playing on the same evening.
Oh yeah, good.
One have got Lithuanian and one have got a Kosovan team. So
I had a friend.
Good luck if anyone wants to go to that.
I lived with a girl who was Lithuanian in uni, and well done for pronouncing that because they're really long words. It's not so much that they're difficult to pronounce, but they're really long, so you just get a bit lost in the middle.
Yeah.
So we'll see how we get on with that when we get the results. But yeah, anyway, in the rugby, Wales Argentina 2020 draw. Not often you see a draw in the rugby, is it?
No, I've always when I first started watching rugby, I didn't actually think you could draw a game because I'd never seen one, so I just assumed it never happened. Same as I'd never seen anyone actually get sent off until a Scottish player got sent off in the Six Nations, like my third year watching it. So I assumed you couldn't get a red card. But no, it's always going to be tough playing when you've got most of your top players either on lines duty or injured.
You get this, though. You get the sort of Facebook armies going.
Did Argentina play a lot of the game with 10 men as well?
Also, I think about the
14 men.
10 men. That would really be a problem for them. Yeah, I think it was about between the 60th, 55th, 60th minute, something like that. They got the man sent off. I only actually caught the second half of this, but I watched it. I thought, there's some promising signs. I thought when I was watching it, Argentina were down to 14 men, so naturally Wales had, obviously a big advantage in terms of possession and everything. Eventually they cracked through because they were trailing at half time mark, but they got there, and they were unlucky not to win it in the end. But it was a great try from Thomas Williams, who just thought I'd highlight, because I think we both agree Thomas Williams is a great prospect for the future, rocking a bit of a stash as it goes at the moment, which I'm all here for, but good try for him, good hands, smart, nice sell for the dummy and everything. He's unlucky not to be with the Lions, don't you think?
Yeah, he's just continuing his good performances from the Six Nations. I think he had a bit of a recurring injury. Because I think he missed one game, came back, and I think he went off at the end of the first half in the game he came back. So he's probably why he's missed out on the Lions contention. But so we got him coming through, and Kieran Hardy, the other one. So we've got two really solid scrum halves in the pipeline at the minute that are going to be pushing Davis for that number 1 jersey. And I think Jared Evans as well, for me, when he came on at fly-off, looked really solid. Good player for the Blues. I've watched him quite a bit when I have tuned in to see how the Blues are getting on. I think he might have had 1 or 2 chances for the national team before, but he's sort of done all right. But sort of now, while the lads, bigger and that are on the Lions duty, he's going to get a bit of a shot in. I don't know if he'll be able to stake a claim for the 10, because look how well Callum Sheedy's playing.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
He's going to become, is it Ospreys or Scarlets he's joining?
Callum Sheedy?
He's going to not be. I'm pretty sure he's joining a region. That might have just been a rumour that I've taken as fact, but is it Gloucester or Bath?
He's with Gloucester.
Gloucester, yeah. I've heard he might be
Bristol, sorry, Bristol.
Bristol, that's it, Falatau.
Aye, they are.
No, Falatau's at Bath, isn't it? What am I talking about?
He was.
Too many southern, western English rugby teams to...
Yeah.
They'll begin with B as well, what are you going to do? But no, we've, in sort of those 9 and 10 positions, we've got some really good young talent coming through. Reece Patchell as well, still got a few years ahead of that. Did he play? I'm sure I saw him on
he's still out, I believe.
Is he still out?
Yeah.
But when he comes back, he's a different kind of 10 to Callum Sheedy. Sheedy can sort of play off the shoulder of the scrum half, make the darting runs inside. His sort of place kicking's getting a bit better. But then, you look at Dan Bigger, put the ball on a sixpence for you anywhere on the pitch.
Well, that's why he's there with the Lions right now, isn't it? So.
Exactly. He can control the game with his kicking, and sort of he can set the tempo of the game. So sort of having those various game plans, that's only going to be a good thing for her.
To be Argentina are no fools either. They've done really well in the Southern Hemisphere games against New Zealand and Australia. I think they've had a few wins as well.
You look at how well they've grown as a rugby side over the last 10 years, even since we started watching rugby.
Yeah. So I mean, there will be those that complain and say, "Oh, whatever." But for me, it's a decent result. They're friendlies, these games. You're not going to have your best team. Half of our best players are away or injured. So we haven't lost. You can't cry too hard about it, can you?
If we'd have lost by 50, 60 points to a couple, have a bit of a moan about it. It's not good showing, but you've got to remember as well, it's a lot of lads with less than 10 caps, quite a few new caps, and so a lot of them probably had a long season for their regions as well, or their club sides, and they're just trying to sort of break into the Wales side, make an impression on Wayne Piddock while the other lads are away with the Lions, and hopefully they'll be selected next time. There's what month are we in now? So it's July, so there'll be the autumn internationals. This will be a few of the lads putting themselves in the shop window for that, and then you go back to your club, or like your club season starts, you play around the autumn internationals, and then Six Nations.
Exactly, yeah. So, I'm excited to see what comes of just a few positions where Wales are looking so strong at the moment. Like we said, in the scrum half and the fly half positions, we've got some unbelievable choices at wing at the moment.
Oh yeah. The back row, the scrum as well, the strength and depth in there, you can barely just pick 5 players to fill out a squad.
100%. What we really need to be looking at with these Wales friendlies as well is the centre positions who's playing there, because we've just lost Hadley Parks, haven't we? Because he's moved away.
Yeah.
And he hasn't racked up enough caps to carry on playing, which is a massive shame for us. So we just got to keep our eyes on that, and that's what we have to look at this as a scouting operation more than anything else, especially when the Lions are there. So overall, a draw against Argentina could be a lot worse.
Definitely. I mean, yeah, it was meant to be a game in Argentina. Because I was a bit confused while they had a load of Argentinian advertisements and they were the team first on the scoreboard. But of course, it was meant to be us going away, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, they moved the Copa America, didn't they, from Argentina to Brazil?
Yes.
I guess it must be really bad in Argentina if they move it to Brazil. Christ,
That Bolsonaro
Bolsonaro
just had a big fat wad of cash. Like, yeah, bring it.
Quite possibly.
Nice to see Messi with an international trophy above his head, though.
Yeah, why not? Yeah. He's staying at
He's
Barcelona.
worked hard.
He's just agreed
taking
to
a 50% pay cut, isn't he, or something?
Like that. I mean, he doesn't need that amount of money, does
No.
he? He's probably laughing at them. He's like, "Why didn't you ask me for this earlier?"
He's staying there because he's happy and his family's settled, and he clearly loves the club. If he's taken a massive
he's
pay
done
cut.
what he wanted to do as well, which is get rid of Batemo or whatever he was called.
Is that the president or the chief exec type figure?
So he's done what he wanted to do there. So why wouldn't he stay?
Supposedly, yeah, exactly. Well, they've got his mate Aguero there now.
That'll be interesting.
Send another fairly big free agent.
Depay, I think, he signed as well.
Yes, I don't think he was a free agent though, but their front three is looking terrifying this year.
That's going to be promising, isn't it? There you go.
Okay, we've had a short little intermission, and as you build it before, on to the main event.
Aye.
Let's break down this North East Wales 11.
So,
have you got any general stats about your team overall? I've been a little sad bugger and added up my caps collectively through my 11 players.
I haven't done that. I'll do it now. That's a good point. You go then. And while you're
didn't bother working out the goals because for a few of the defenders, I didn't bother writing down how many goals they scored because some were none and there was like one or two here and there. 469 Wales caps my squad had collectively. That's a lot from...
That is
if you break it down into population size, that's probably like 500,000 people, if not.
Yeah,
North Wales, maybe.
Well, it just goes to show, doesn't it, how important North East Wales has been historically, really, to the Welsh national setup.
Oh, one of the oldest football clubs in world football comes from North East Wales. Think how many important Wales games have been at the racecourse.
Very true. I think yours has got far more than mine. Hold on. I've got, I think, 696 caps. So I think yours has got far more than me.
No, yours has got 600. I'm only on 400 odd.
Oh, really? Well, I've got 696 here. I'm starting to worry that I've gone wrong here. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, I've got one too many. I don't know. Something around that mark.
That's all right. To be fair, some of my players were quite from a bit of an older era where there wasn't that many international games in a year. So that might go against some of them, but it was just something I thought might be a nice little read. And
yeah. Well, let's kick it off. Let's kick it off with the position, the logical place to start, and also the position that really picks itself, which is Neville
goalkeeper.
Okay. It has to be, doesn't it? Big Nev. So my stats I've got here for you: 92 appearances for Wales. For the longest time, he was the record cap holder. Who played with some great teams and some terrible teams, and also 34 clean sheets, which is when you think about it, for a team like Wales, historically we've really underachieved and actually not. He probably would have played if we had qualified for tournaments, he would have been into 3 figures easily. 34 figures, 34 clean sheets.
I think if it was a fraction as well, like 90 odd caps, 30 odd clean sheets, that's 1 in every 3 games.
So well, there you go. There you go. So really impressive. Neville Southall, just all round boss, basically. One of the greatest goalkeepers of his generation, I would say. On a club level as well, playing for Everton. Maybe doesn't get the celebration when we talk about the Premier League greats and everything that he should get, because I guess when he was playing, it was before the Premier League existed. It was Division 1 or whatever. But Neville Southall picks himself, really, doesn't he?
I think he does. I knew you were going to pick Big Nev because, like you said, he picks himself. So I have tried to go really far outside the box to try and select the counter argument. So I went into the annals of Welsh football and history. A few of the picks I did this with actually, and chose a goalkeeper who played 24 times for Wales between 1900 and 1911.
Jesus Christ.
This man came from a village near Wrexham called Holt. Are you familiar with a goalkeeper called Leigh Roose?
Leigh Roose, I am not familiar. Enlighten me.
This man was widely renowned as one of the best goalkeepers of the Edwardian era of football. And he was an amateur player who refused to turn professional. I'll get onto that in a minute. When football was really dominated by professional players. And he was also a man dubbed football's first ever playboy.
Wow.
So
that's all right.
I'll shoot you some stats about this guy. So Leigh Roose started out at Aberystwyth Town in 1895, pre-1900. He was actually studying science there at Abbey Uni, and I think he was actually taught there by H.G. Wells, the author of War of the Worlds. I think he was I think he was a scientist in some capacity, or he was a lecturer. But yeah, for Aber, Leigh made 85 appearances over 5 years, and he did actually win the Welsh Cup during his time there. I think it might have been in 1900, but I can't quite remember the year. So anyway, he was studying science at Abbey Uni. He wanted to be a doctor, so he went to begin his Bachelor of Medicine degree, I think down in London. But in 1900, Stoke City came looking to sign him, having heard about a maverick Welshman with a very groundbreaking style of goalkeeping. So he joined them in 1901, made 147 appearances over 2 spells there. Did also spend time at Everton, Sunderland, Huddersfield, Villa, and good old Woolwich Arsenal.
Brilliant.
To touch on that comment the Stoke scouts had on him, safe to say he sort of revolutionised the position of goalkeeper in the English game anyway, because back in the early sort of Edwardian era of football, keepers were mainly sort of shot stoppers and punching bags for the strikers, and they rarely came off their lines, apparently. Not that I was alive back in the day to see that. This is just off probably third-hand accounts. But, with the more relaxed rules of physicality back then, Leigh Roose was one of the first goalkeepers to actually sort of act as a bit of a sweeper keeper and give it as good as he got to the strikers and give it one back. So he'd come rushing off his line to make tackles. And I think as well at the time, goalkeepers, when they were handling the ball, they were allowed to like bounce it basketball style up to the halfway line outside the box.
I had no idea about that.
Because of Leigh Roose doing that constantly, because a lot of goalkeepers were scared to do that in case they sort of got clobbered by another player. Because he was doing that so frequently, that forced the FA to change the rule on goalkeepers handling the ball outside the box and carrying it. So. And the FA weren't a fan of him generally either, because he was a bit of a practical joker on the pitch. It was the era the FA were trying to sort of push football as a professional sport and get all the players to turn pro, and he refused to, because he didn't earn loads playing professional football back then. And I think the money he was getting in like travel expenses and that playing for his club actually was more than the professional players were getting every game. So you can't blame him, can you?
No, so that's so interesting. I had no idea of his existence, to be honest with you.
Me neither, mate.
Cool. Very, very cool.
He was also, with the time he played football as well, he did also serve time in the army during the First World War. Unfortunately, he did pass away in the Battle of the Somme, aged 38. I think he was a member of the Royal Fusiliers. I think he managed to rise to the rank of Lance Corporal before he passed away. But unfortunately, like many young men, he perished at the Somme. So.
It's so interesting, that, isn't it? It's like, if you think if something was to happen now in the world and people got drafted and stuff, imagine that you're in the ranks with a professional footballer. You're there, like, I don't know, like polishing.
You look to your right, you can see the top of a hat. You look down, it's Joe Allen.
You're there polishing your gun. You look to the left, and there's bloody Chris Gunter next to you. So madness. So that's such a cool little dig from the archive. Kudos, Martin. Kudos.
Very happy I found that one out.
I just want to add as well about Neville Southall. Something that for me goes massively in his favour as well is his activism off the pitch. Yep. So Neville Southall is a big supporter of Welsh independence. He gave a speech very recently for Yes Cymru and everything. He's a proud Welshman in that sense. So that goes in his favour for me. Also, he's done a lot for charities, for all sorts of things. He's been a big supporter of LGBTQ plus rights. for rights for sex workers and things like this. So in general, just an all-round good guy, Neville Southall. So I'm a big fan of his. A great guy. And that moustache. Again, returning to the moustache theme here. But
and it was in the era with the really funky goalkeeper kit colours.
That's another good one, yeah.
That's another thing that goes for me.
That pink one is the one that stands out for me. Like you can get a hat of it now, like a bubble hat from Spirit 58. That shirt is ace. I'm waiting for that to come back, really, like, you know, really plain, nothing special kits. And then the goalkeeper just has this, I don't know, this bloody Andy Warhol thing on his.
Andy Warhol smoking weed, looking at a kaleidoscope with a palette full of colours and a load of weird shaped sponges. And
yeah, you do that, you get a Wales goalkeeper's kit from the 90s, basically.
It's like one of those seminal art pieces that you have to sort of justify the meaning of it, but you can basically say anything, and the art critic's like, yeah.
Excellent, right? So there's our goalkeepers. So Leigh Roose and Neville Southall. I guess at the end we'll sort of have a little debate and choose which one to go for.
But do you want to pick one as we go along, or do you want to do it at the ends?
I was going to say let's do it at the end. Let's go through it all and then go like that. You know? So let's move on to left back. Let's go for it. Right. Okay. So who have you gone for? You can start this time.
I have a feeling we might have gone for the same left back here, but
quite possibly.
In my back four, I have to say I've got a lot of winners in terms of trophies at club level. I'm going to pick a man who won 2 European Cups for Liverpool in 1976 and 1978. You're nodding your head, so I know you've also picked Mr. Joey Jones from Llandudno, the Wrexham, Liverpool and Wales legends. Made his Wrexham debut at age 17, which, you know, they think of some of the... It's only recently where they've sort of seemed like lads are starting playing football at 16, 17, but he did that in, like, what would have been late 60s, early 70s, something like that. I was looking at his entire stats before I should really know what year he started playing, but he played 370 times in league for Wrexham over 3 spells, won the Welsh Cup with them in 1975 as well. I believe, I'm not sure if this has been smashed since 1978, but he's still the club's record transfer for a player coming in, £210,000, I think, when they re-signed him from Liverpool. Yeah, he only played for 3 seasons for Liverpool, but he won plenty with his boyhood club. They won the Football League First Division in 1976 to 1977 season. There's 2 European Cups we mentioned. He was actually, I believe, the first player to win a European Cup winners medal.
Yeah, that was a stat I had. He's the first Welshman to win a European Cup. Yeah,
and then they also won the UEFA Cup in 75 to 56, but I guess I was meant to put 1975 to 1976, and then the UEFA Super Cup in 77. So for 3 years at a club, that's a hell of a trophy haul.
Oh yeah, massively. I mean, Joey Jones we're both sort of Wrexham followers and everything, so they go hand in hand, don't they? Joey Jones and Wrexham, and I guess that's the start really of our 11's almost inevitable Wrexham connection, isn't it? But yeah, for me, Joey Jones is just an absolute icon, obviously way before our time, and mainly what I know of Joey Jones' stories, but there's some cracking stories about Joey Jones. Just in reference to Wales, 72 caps he had, scored 1 goal. First Welshman to win a European Cup, as you mentioned, and also extremely famous for that banner. I don't know if you know.
Was it the second European Cup final? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
game in Rome.
They beat, on the way to the final, they beat Saint Etienne and they beat Zurich. So, for those who don't know, there's an infamous banner that was seen in the stands saying, "Joey ate the frog's legs. He made the Swiss roll. Now he's munching Gladbach." Classic. Absolutely love Joey Jones. Also, as a manager for Wrexham, really helped them out in a really difficult period for the club and everything. So Joey Jones had to be there for this. However, honourable mention has to go to Neil Taylor from Ruthin. Very unlucky, really, for his position. I was debating whether to put him out of position and put him as a right back, or Joey Jones could do the same. I don't know, but I decided against it in the end. But I mean, Neil Taylor, huge for us in our real golden era. Unlucky not to have carried on, really, but I guess just the way it went with the centre backs coming in, pushing Ben Davies onto the left. Just one of those things. I mean, Swansea legend as well. Also played for Wrexham. While Wrexham were in League One, I believe he was playing for them, and he had a good spell there. And scoring against Russia, you know. So I feel bad for him not getting in the team, but you just can't.
Not many Welshmen have scored at European Championship, have they?
Well, they are, exactly. I mean, there you go. He's one of 2 fullbacks to do it, I believe. So so Neil Taylor, honourable mention from me. So what do you want to do? Do you want to go to the centre backs or do you want to go to the right back?
Let's work our way through the centre backs. Should we go across the line?
Okay, so I'll start.
I've gone first for 2, so you can. No. I've gone first for 2, so you have a go.
Okay, so I'm going to start with centre back choice, Mike England. So Mike England, probably in the eyes of Wales fans, more famous for his exploits as a manager, having managed Wales from 1980 to 88, and in that time, getting 3 are probably the most famous Wales results in history, being the 4-1 win against England, a 1-0 win against England, and also that 3-0 win against Spain in a World Cup qualifier. So Mike England, as a player, 49 caps, 4 goals, born in Holywell, I believe, which is where I sort of half grew up in Holywell, with my grandparents sort of living there the majority of my life. But I believe he lives in Prestatyn, or he spent most of his time in Prestatyn. I think he lives in Prestatyn now. In fact, I might be wrong there, but I'm pretty sure he owns like a retirement home or something in Prestatyn. But yeah, all-round hero really for us, especially like I say, as a manager. I can't comment too much on his playing career. I've really mainly put him in there to talk about his managerial exploits. But there's a great story as well when Wales beat England 4-1. That after the game, it was played in the racecourse, I believe. After the game, he went back home to Prestatyn, went on the lash with Mickey T, and stayed over in his parents' house and slept on the floor in Prestatyn. So there you go, Mike England, overall hero there for Wales. More as a manager than a player, but 49 caps and 4 goals as a centre back in that era, which would have been like the 70s. Not to be sniffed at all. So for me, Mike England was a firm choice for me there in centre back. There wasn't much debating going on in my head.
That's a good shout. And I will also concur, as North East Wales boys are quite happy to sleep on the floor with a jacket and someone else's jacket rolled up as a pillow. I know I am. So
been there, done that.
Lewis can tell you a story about that.
Right.
I haven't actually picked Mike England out of my 2 centre backs. I had a strong feeling you were going to pick him. So again, I've tried to look a bit sideways. Okay. I'm going to stick with sort of a Merseyside theme for my first centre back. I've gone for one of the youngest captains actually at the time ever to lift the FA Cup. I'm not sure where he still stands in that statistic, but he's a man who earned a big trophy haul in his time at Everton. He won 3 FA Cups, 2 league titles, and the European Cup Winners' Cup. He's from Mancott in Flintshire, and are you familiar with Kevin Ratcliffe?
Kevin Ratcliffe.
Of course. So he made over 350 league appearances for Everton. He had a 12-year spell between 1980 and 1992. He was really noted for his speed as a covering defender. You know, he'd often recover to sort of tackle strikers who'd be in the offside trap. And he touted as a bit of a hard man on the pitch. I was reading about, I think he got sent off in one of his first games for Everton for headbutting Tommy Hutchinson, the City player. And then there was another incident later on in his career where him and another teammate conspired to get Vinnie Jones sent off. So a bit of a joker, a bit of a hard man on the pitch. Apparently he faked an injury against Vinnie Jones, so maybe not as much of a hard man as we think. He only scored twice for Everton in his 300-odd games, but his first goal actually he scored for the club was a 30-yarder against Liverpool in 1986. The Blues did actually win that derby 2-0 at Anfield. Keeper should have probably done a bit better with it, though. It was quite a low shot. I want to, from the video, it looked like it was Bruce Grobbelaar in goal from the moustache.
Probably.
You'd have to confirm that for me. So I'm not too sure. But anyway, Kevin Ratcliffe he got 59 caps for Wales. It was there between 1981 and 1993. A lot of those were as captain of the side as well. played alongside the likes of Neville Southall, Ian Rush, Mark Hughes.
Yeah, well, during Mike England's tenure as manager. So really a real golden era for us in a way.
Definitely. He could play as a left back as well with his speed, but I've put him in the middle because I do like having a left-footed centre back paired with a right-footed centre back.
Nice.
And also him being an Everton player, Ian Rush being a Liverpool player. For a lot of their games when they were both in the squad, they were roommates.
Ah, they are.
So,
interesting.
You wouldn't expect to see that, would you?
Got a question though. Does Kevin Ratcliffe lose points for having played for Chester and managed Chester?
I was thinking of throwing that in, but I just left it out because he did sort of end his career there. So I think it was his final club, so maybe
Kevin
felt a bit sorry for him.
That's the only logical explanation.
Being on Merseyside for so long, it's right there. I'm right there right now. I feel a bit sorry for it.
It's interesting as well when you look at the Merseyside connection with Wales. I'd say it's split quite evenly, perhaps, but maybe Everton have the edge with the Welsh connection, perhaps. They even have a stand. What's the name of this stand in Goodison Park? They've got a Welsh name. I'm going to Google it now. But just goes to show, it's interesting. The Gladwys.
The Gladys Street end.
Exactly.
I don't know if it's a Welsh now. I think it's just named after the street that's behind the stand.
Sure, but I mean, it probably comes from Welsh.
They do have. They did have a lot of Welsh emigration to Liverpool, though, didn't they?
Of course. In Liverpool, you've got a whole region. You've got a whole little section of Liverpool which is called the Welsh Streets and everything. So there you go. A good, excellent choice. Excellent choice. I had it in mind. I didn't realise. I just had to Google as well. Mancot is. It says it's near Queensferry, so right on the border there. But I did have Kevin Ratcliffe in mind, but I decided to go for instead James Chester as my second centre back. Oh. James Chester, born in England. However, his mum is from North East Wales. Do you know where his mum's from?
I do, because I also picked James Chester, but can you guess what position I picked him in? He's my auxiliary right back.
Wow, James Chester right back. But yeah.
Well, I'll answer your first question. Mrs. Chester hails from one of the premier towns that the North East Wales Riviera has to offer. Sunny Rhyl, I believe it's pronounced.
Sunny Rhyl. Oi. Dirty Rhyl.
We love it.
Yeah, I mean, I mainly, there's two reasons I chose James Chester here. To get a mention in for the Rhyl, and also because of his what he did for us in the Euros as well. I thought Kevin Ratcliffe, Wales captain, probably, I mean, more of a legend than James Chester, you could argue. However, James Chester did what Kevin Ratcliffe never managed to do, unfortunately, and that is get us to a major tournament. James Chester played in the majority, of course, of the qualifying games, and I think he, in fact, played every game that we played in Euro 2016.
Yeah, played all six.
So, exactly, 35 caps he racked up for Wales. And in the Euros, he played. What else needs to be said, really? And he was solid as anything. And he was really unlucky with injury. 35 caps, he could have got that up to 50, I believe, if he had managed to avoid injury and everything. And it's a shame because I believe he was Aston Villa captain at one point while they were sort of pushing for promotion. If he had stayed fit and everything, his career would have gone a lot further now. But he's currently with Stoke, I believe.
Yeah, to be honest, mate, he would have been in my Euro 2020 side if he hadn't have been struggling with injury towards the end of this season. But that's the thing for me. He is a bit of an underrated player in our side because Ashley Williams, captain, leader, legend. You're always going to go on about a player like that when you have him in the side. But you think about the supporting cast he had around him. Ben Davis, James Chester, as reliable as you could hope for. Same with Taylor and Gunter on the outside. That sort of back 5 and 6 with Hennessy, it wasn't 5 or 6 individual players. It was a solid unit, and all the moving parts and that, they're all, they had their own roles to play and they all played them to perfection.
Sure.
It was when we had to change parts of the team, like we had to bring Collins in for Davis, and was it David Edwards in for Ramsey against Portugal?
I believe so.
So, that's what sort of disrupted it in the 6th game of that run. But, I just think he's been a bit of an underrated player for us, and for a centre-back under 6 foot in the modern game as well, because he was only 5'11" my height.
Wow.
You have to sort of be a good athlete to sort of deal with these strikers over 6'2", beating him in the air. And he's just been so dependable whenever I've seen him in a Wales shirt, and I'd happily see him in one again, sort of injury dependent and sort of how he is. I know he's aging a bit now, but
I couldn't agree more, because our centre-back pairing, they did decent at this Euros, but there are moments when we talk before about the Denmark game and the heads going down and everything. I think Joe Rodon and Chris Mepham were a bit responsible in that in some ways. Chris Mepham especially is one of the guys that I sort of noted that their head went down quite fast.
Yeah, not that it's necessarily a bad thing, but I think they're both quite emotional sort of players on the pitch. They're always reacting to every little decision. Not that that's about, you like to see the passion in your team, but you always need that calmer head in there to sort of, especially at the back, to sort of bring the situation down a bit, pull everyone into line, and just sort of keep the game ticking over.
Well, there you go. So for me, I've gone for Joey Jones and left back, Mike England at centre back, James Chester at centre back. Who's the other centre back that you've chosen then?
My centre back, funnily enough that you mentioned that Merseyside connection, because I've got another Everton legend.
Oh, okay.
Not sure if you're familiar with this fella, Thomas George Jones, better known as TG Jones, a chap from Connors Quay. He began his career at Wrexham, but after just 6 first-team appearances, I believe, he signed for Everton. It was for £3,000 in 1936.
Well, that's probably a big amount of money then.
That's what I was trying to work out, because I think in the 60s, my nan got about £5 a week for a wage. So the value of money would have been even lower back then. So that's got to be sort of touching a few 100,000 nowadays. But yeah, he made 178 league appearances in 14 years at Everton. He did win the league championship in the 1938-39 season with the Toffees as well. But as a central defender, because there's quite a lot written about him, because he's a big figure around Everton. Tommy definitely broke the mold of what was considered sort of usual for a defender at that time. You've seen him a bit of a forerunner to the likes of Franz Beckenbauer, that sort of competent dribbler as a defender, coming out from the back with the ball and being able to spray it around the pitch. I'm not sure if you can call him sort of the original ball playing defender, but he's certainly a trailblazer in that position for sure. He made 28 international appearances between 1938 and 1950. He did earn 11 of those as a wartime caps. I think they played a bit of international football during the Second World War, apparently. I didn't read too much into that. But also, there's a few cool stats with him as a manager as well, because he had quite a long playing career. But he retired in 1959, and he did have a bit of success for Bangor City as their manager. They won the Welsh Cup in 1962, so subsequently they qualified for the European Cup Winners' Cup. And they managed to have a little bit of a run, and they managed a really good 2-0 win over a very strong Napoli side in the first leg. They did lose.
Very famous.
They lost the second leg 3-1, unfortunately, and then no away goals. So they had a replay, and it was 3-1. I think that was at Highbury, the old Arsenal grounds.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was also Putleli manager. He was the real manager for a year or two that I said I had a real manager in there before we started recording. And being a lad from Connors Quay, he was also instrumental in the formation of Connors Quay Football Club. He formed an under-19 side for his hometown, which later expanded into the adult team, and then it's further become Connors Quay Nomads, the current double Welsh Cymru Premier champions. So.
Very, very interesting. I hadn't thought about that at all. I didn't actually know him, to be honest, before this. But
me neither. Another one I've dug out of Wikipedia. So.
We're gonna be sick at a pub quiz when it comes to this, But that Bangor Napoli game is infamous. It's a typical thing that comes up on BBC Cymru Wales, and the videos they do and everything. But cool, I like that so much. You've proper dug deep there for your goalkeeper and your centre back. So you went for James Chester at right back.
Yep.
Fair play. Right, now, I was really torn for my right back between just putting either Joey Jones or Neil Taylor in there and vice versa with the other. But I decided to go out on a limb. I might get a bit of stick for this and say I'm going to put in there Nico Williams. I did this before the Euros. Yeah, Nico Williams has looked massively promising when he's played for us. He's racked up 14 caps super fast, to be honest with you. He's already got 14 caps, which is impressive. He's, I think, 19 or
19, yeah.
So 14 caps at that age is unbelievable.
Still getting ID'd for Red Bull, probably.
Defo. And I don't know, he's really brought something to the Wales team during the Nations League and the qualifiers for the World Cup that we've had so far. That it's been exciting to watch. He's electric down the wing. He wants to carry the ball and everything. And it's something that we struggled with a little bit, is ball carriers, where we haven't got Ramsey available, or like we saw in the Euros, where we couldn't get Bale or Ramsey really into the game. So Nico Williams, he goes in there for me. That goal he scored as well against Bulgaria in the Nations League to ensure that we go up to League A, which could be huge for us in the rankings if we get some good results. So he could be instrumental in that. I think he's got a massive role to play for us in the future. He was unlucky, I think, in the Euros not to play more. Conor Roberts played out of his skin. He got given the chance because of his late surge in form for the Swans. And, he did outstanding in the Euros. Probably one of the best players that Wales had in the Euros, scoring that goal as well against Turkey. Nico Williams, unfortunately, was responsible for the goal that killed our dreams with that hospital pass against Denmark. Really poor clearance, a real show of lack of experience in that sense.
Lack of playing time in the season, I think, because if you played 30 games a season, you're not playing the ball across your own goal, are you? You used to sort of find in the stands.
He snapped it in. It's gone.
Yeah,
I don't think
it's a young lad playing in a European tournament.
Sure, I think it
happens sometimes.
His thought process would have been, if in doubt, kick it out. He's kicked it out, and it's unfortunately gone straight to the feet of.
We've all done it, just not in front of millions of people watching on TV. Yeah. Let's be honest.
So unfortunate for Nico Williams, but do you notice how he didn't get all the abuse and everything? You know why that is? Because we're sound as fans. But there you go. I put in Nico Williams. I think 14 caps at the age of 19, 20 we're not sure on that number. He's looking at getting up to 30 caps by next season. Really, if Conor Roberts is still out injured and stuff, he'll be playing. I imagine he'll be the direct substitution for him for the World Cup qualifiers. We've got some friendlies coming up against Finland, and who's the other one we've got a friendly against? I can't think.
Gone blank on that.
But 2 friendlies to come up. I'm pretty sure that he'll get some kind of playing time then. So yeah, I've gone for Nico Williams. Probably not the strongest decision at right back, but it's
an actual right back.
An actual right back, yeah, and also looking to the future in that one. Also, I think he's got a lot to offer. Again, another lad from near Wrexham, from Kevin. So yeah, good for him.
Is he a Druid?
He never played for Druids. He's similar to Harry Wilson, that's gone through the ranks at Liverpool. Liverpool looking to offload him, I think, this summer for like 10 million. Which could be the best thing that ever happens to him if he gets into a team like Southampton, like, I don't know, Brighton, this kind of thing. He could really show the world what he's got.
I've heard Leeds.
Leeds, I think he'd fit the mold.
I imagine Bielsa would turn him into a mean defender as well. I don't think he'd stand for any of that.
He's got that burst of pace. He's got that electricity. He wants the ball. He wants to push forward. So I think in that sort of Bielsa ball style, he could really do a bit of business. So for me, Nico Williams, looking forward to the future. That's cool. Now then, this is where our 11 start to differ, right? Because I've gone for a 4-4-2 formation. Yep. You've gone for
I've gone for a 4-3-3 with an attacking midfielder. So you've got an extra striker and I've got a central midfielder. An attacking midfielder. So shall we do, when you do your like wide midfielders, I'll do my wingers. When you do your central mids, I'll do mine. And then I'll just do a attacking mid when you do a striker.
All right. Well, let's go straight through.
I like how we're working this all out on the fly.
Yeah, it's very nice. Yeah, it's going well. So let's go straight through the middle, right? I'm going to start from my first centre midfielder. Another one that picks himself a bit of utility plays all around really in the field for club and country. But for me, I always saw him personally as a centre midfielder, as like a sort of number 8 style player, which is Gary Speed.
That's a sound choice.
Had to be in there somewhere. Born again in Connors Quay, maybe Queens Ferry, Connors Quay way, I believe. 85 caps for Wales, which is outstanding. I mean, the only reason that there's players that are really beating that is because you've got Big Nev in goal, and you've got the likes of Gareth Bale and Chris Gunter who've gone
just
through
played forever.
Exactly, yeah. And started very young as well. Gareth Bale started playing when he was 16. Chris Gunter, it just goes to show the the problems we've had at right back. We've been dealing with for a while. But Chris Gunter, that's not to discredit Chris Gunter. He's a legend. He'll, without a doubt, be in our South East Wales 11.
Too right.
That is just unnegotiable, you know. But Gary Speed. So, what can you say about Gary Speed? Probably one of the most well-liked players that ever played for Wales and beyond. You know, he played for an array of teams, for Sheffield United, for Newcastle United, Leeds United, all the Uniteds, apart from Manchester.
It's hard to go from Sheffield United to Leeds United and not be hated by both sets of fans, I have to say as well. And whenever, well, you've probably had a bit more time in Sheffield than I have, but whenever I've spoken to Leeds fans about Speedo, they've got nothing but praise.
100%. In fact,
good things to say about
him. I believe he's just had a mural painted in Leeds also, hasn't he? So, I mean, it goes to show his character, everything. Gary Speed, a true lead there. I was trying to, for each of these people, sort of pick out a moment, you know, where they've, so for Neville Southall, career, you know, but Nico Williams against Bulgaria, Mike England managing against England, James Chester, just the Euros in general, Joey Jones winning the European, well, whatever, Champions League. No. Gary Speed, again, is another one I can't pick out a moment for, just Mr. Reliable, just an absolute Rolls Royce of a midfielder. Captain Wales 44 times. Now, I'm not sure what the stats are on that, but he's got to be up there for some of the most captains or whatever of Wales in that sense. Also, as a manager, probably, I would say you'd find it hard to find someone who disagrees with the idea that Gary Speed was the one who revolutionised the Wales team, got them on track and got us believing again before his unfortunate passing away in 2011. He only had 1 year as manager. When you think back, it felt like longer because of the impact that he had.
Yeah, because the amount of work that was put into place, and we wouldn't be in the position we are now if it wasn't for him sort of putting the infrastructure there and putting this squad through to become what they are now.
I'll never forget the day the news broke of his death and everything. Just an absolute tragedy, very, very sad, and a legend forever, Gary Speed, in more than football, in everything, you know. So, for that reason, Gary Speed has to be in there for me. Also, by the way, 50% win rate for Wales, the most successful manager. He only had a year. I think he only had like 10 or 15, between 10 and 15 games. But there you go. Yeah, Gary Speed had to be there.
That's can't not put Gary Speed in there, I have to say. I mean, I picked him as well, and you've basically covered everything I've said. For me as well, though, it's just the era I started watching football as well. He's a player synonymous with that Bolton team that sort of were really good, but Bolton never won anything. And just seeing a Wales player kick around and sort of one of the top 10 teams in the Premier League as a young kid, it's always cool to see. And
he was always one
sort of the impact he had on the nation as well when he sort of got to the helm, and sort of the philosophy he put amongst the players. You know, that work's been carried on by Coleman and is still being carried on now. And that's probably why we have the connection we do between the fans and the team, and so everything's sort of pulling in one direction.
100%. Gary Speed was one I always used to buy. Without that, he would be the name on the back of my shirt as a kid with the Wales kits and that. On FIFA and everything, I always used to buy him. He'd be my captain on FIFA, like FIFA 2003, 4, 5, you know. So yeah, Gary Speed had to be there for me. So you went for Gary Speed as well?
I did.
Okay, so tell me your other midfielder then, your other central mid.
My other central midfielder is someone I wasn't too familiar with, and there's another Wrexham connection here, actually. It's funny you've mentioned like specific moments from players' careers, because I actually picked this guy because of a specific moment from the career. He was the man who scored the goal versus Austria at the racecourse to get us to the 1976 European Championship finals, because was it the Yugoslavians were having a civil war, or
I don't know. No, it was Yugoslavia. I think we had the game against it was pure filth, and the referee was a wanker.
There was one of the was it Macedonia?
Possibly Macedonia.
No, because they were a
Serbia?
former republic. One of like the old school sort of state teams got kicked out for starting a war or having a civil war. So of course we snuck in the back door, didn't we?
Yeah.
But yeah, Wrexham fans, what's the word? Dubbed this man, sorry, the Prince of Wales, Mr. Advan Griffiths.
Advan Griffiths.
I've put him as a central midfielder, but I do think he was more of an attacking midfielder. But in terms of like the team dynamic, I have a lot of faith in Gary Speed to do a lot of the legwork in midfield for him. He's actually, I believe, the club record holder at Wrexham for league appearances with 591 in the Football League. I think he's also the second highest goal scorer currently, 120 league goals. So, good return for an attacking mid, especially after say it's like goal every 5 games or something. I'm sure he set up quite a lot as well, playing in the position he did. As you can guess, he was a huge player for Wrexham. He won the 4 Welsh Cups in his time there, and he actually played in 3 European campaigns. And they did. He was in that one in 1976 where they reached the quarterfinals of the Cup Winners' Cup, and it was Anderlecht they got knocked out to, and they went on to win it. He did only earn 17 caps for Wales, unfortunately. I think it took him quite a while to break into the squad for some reason, but he scored 6 times in a 5-year spell in the sides. And he did have some quite good achievements as a manager as well. Took over from John Neal as Wrexham boss in 77. And in his first season, he led the Red Dragons to their Football League 3rd Division title. And he was actually the first manager to get him promoted into the 2nd Division. So.
Was that where the song, the Fearless and Devotion song, was that where that came from? Is it that promotion?
I have no idea, mate.
I'm not sure. Maybe. It
might be.
Very good choice. As someone who'd slipped my mind, he's for me, Advan Griffith is more of a name than I could never put a face to him or pin him down for something in particular.
I'll tell you, it was a straight toss-up between him and Sparky.
And Sparky in centre mid though.
Yeah, I'm only playing one striker. So
true, but. Good choice, a very good choice. He's someone I need to do my research on, Advan Griffiths. But
he did also play for Arsenal and Seattle Sounders.
So that's sorted out for you, Arsenal and Seattle.
And Seattle.
Yeah, there you go. So for me, my other sentiment that I've gone for is the one, the only, Robbie Savage. It had to be just for the it had to be just for the controversy and everything, man. Gary Speed and Robbie Savage played together as well, which also sort of played into Savage's favour in that sense. Just Robbie Savage, the king of shithousery, I grew up watching Robbie Savage as well, and I hated him as a footballer. I hated him because I remember very well getting very close to qualifying for. I can't remember whether it was the Euros or I think it might have been the 2004 Euros. We were against Russia.
Oh, yeah, you're a 2004 playoff.
Yeah, and he got sent off really early in the game, and it just went to pot after that. And I really wanted to go to that game. So my parents got 3 tickets, and they both went, and they gave a ticket to a friend or something. I'll never forgive them. But I remember being at home crying after that game. I was literally crying. So unforgivable in that sense. However, he did do some good stuff. Surprisingly few caps because he had that falling out with John Toshak, didn't he? When Toshak came in 2000. When did Toshak come in? 2005.
It was after Sparky, wasn't it? So 2005.
Yeah, 2005. So he had a falling out with him, and that sort of cut his Wales career short. Unfortunately, I do think that Robbie Savage's personality and his antics sort of stay in his game a little bit because he was not as bad as people remember. No. I think also that season with Derby County when they got relegated really, really badly as a captain, that didn't do many favours. No. But he had some great performances in a Wales shirt, to be honest with you. I was hesitant in picking him, but then going through the archives a little bit and looking back and seeing some of the stuff he did, not a bad player, and just one of the biggest characters in football to this day, really, with his his 5 Live stuff and everything like that. Just some great stuff that he did as well. The thing about Maldini, have you ever heard about this?
No.
So while Brian Gould was the manager of Wales, we were due to play Italy, I believe, in a qualifying match. I don't know, in fact, if this is the game where the Italian fans attacked all the Wales fans. I'm not sure. When they were throwing piss and coins at them and stuff. I don't know if it was that game. I might be wrong. But before the game, Robbie Savage was photographed or filmed, I think, throwing a Maldini shirt in the bin. And because of that, he got dropped from the team and everything like this. And that's just one of many possible sort of anecdotes you could have about Robbie Savage. Like I say, it's a shame. 39 caps, he could have got more. Could have probably done bits for us, but I guess at the end of his temperament was to his detriment at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Highlight for me in a Wales shirt was the goal against Turkey. Have you ever seen this goal?
I haven't, no.
So in a beautiful kit as well. It was what year was it now? I've got it written down somewhere. I don't know, but it was. I think it was in the 90s. 6-4 it ended up against Turkey. Turkey winning, unfortunately. We went 2-0 down, then Nathan Blake scored one, and Dean Saunders scored one. And then I think we went 3-2 up with this Robbie Savage goal, and he thunders it in to the top of the net. You know, one of those that sort of dips under the bar. And
looks like it's going to rip out the top.
Exactly, yeah, one of them. So it's on YouTube if you want to have a look for Robbie Savage's goal against Turkey. It's a cracking goal and a nice kit as well, full green. I can't tell you how many of the Wales kits are full green, but I like it. And I really like that kit that we were playing in. So that's my highlight for Robbie Savage. That and just general shithousery.
Even if it's just for that showing up to work drunk live on the BBC.
Another great moment.
We're going to win this. Come on, Wales.
He sent him for a cup of tea and a packet of crisps. Or something.
And he sent that other one for a crepe and a bit of a sarnie.
Brilliant. So yeah, for me, Robbie Savage sort of creeps his way in.
Yeah, I could see that.
All right. Then,
How do you want to advance from here then?
So this is
right midfield.
So yeah, let's do this. Let's go for I'm going to go for the right to start with. Okay.
Okay.
And I'm going to go for an obvious choice as a Wrexham fan. I think my dad would kill me if I didn't include this person because he's his favourite footballer, I think, of all time. Mickey Thomas. Had to be. A legend, Wrexham legend in every sense of the word. Again, properly loved. I think if you talk to any Wrexham fan of a certain age, Mickey T is the first name out of their mouth, you know. Even in the Mike Peters song for the Euros this year, you know, instead of talking about Ramsey and Bale, he was talking about Mickey T running at the right and everything like that. So that's great for us as well. But just a great player. 51 caps for Wales, 4 goals, including 1 goal against England when we beat them 4-1. So that's got to be the highlight, hasn't it?
He started the comeback. He got the equaliser.
Exactly. There you go. So Mickey Thomas has to be in there for us. For Wrexham, 264 caps for Wrexham as well, and also 35 goals. For a winger in those days is quite a lot as well, because, you know, we're quite used to, nowadays, the wingers like Mo Salah and I don't know, Sterling, I guess, and people like this coming in and cutting in that inverted winger role. Well, it didn't really exist. Mickey T was playing. Did you choose Mickey T by any chance?
I did, but I have to say I put him on the left because the one I'm not sure why, but one of my earliest footballing memories, even though I wasn't actually alive for this to happen, I just remember seeing a lot of videos of it being replayed on the telly when I was a kid. The goal he scored from the free kick to equalise against Arsenal in that FA Cup clash in '92. Just because of the sheer power on that left foot, I'm sticking him on the left.
That is probably the most memorable Wrexham moment in history as well. I think that's probably the most iconic goal in Wrexham's history.
Definitely. I mean, he played he played 90 games on the dot in the league for United as well in the spell there. Sure. So, you know, he's cut it at multiple levels.
He played lots of places. He played United, he played Leeds United. Who else did he play for? I can't remember. He played for a lot of good teams as well. So he's not one of these, you know, because we are a bit guilty as Wales fans of overhyping our own players because we love them so much. You know, we really care about them and everything. But Mickey T was one of them that really made it on the biggest stage of them all and stuff, you know. So good for him. Also, a nice little anecdote about Mickey T that my parents told me about this actually. He was stabbed several times in the arse because he was caught with someone's missus on Dizzy Benz. It was in Dizzy Benz. So those of you who aren't from the real Prestatyn Dyserth, Dizzy Benz is a shortcut from Rhyl to sort of Melodyn Dyserth way. which is like country roads.
Come out by the waterfall resort, don't you?
Exactly, yeah. So like really sort of, windy road at night. It's pitch black. It's got a bit of a reputation for being dangerous.
National speed limit, but if you do 60 around there, you've got a farmer
You're
picking
dead,
you out of his hedge.
So Mickey T's there getting off with someone's wife. The wife's fella turns up and stabs him a ridiculous amount of times in the arse. I think it's it's in the double figures the amount of times he got stabbed in the arse for it. So Mickey T, encanting. Well, I'm speaking Spanish now. A charming player on the pitch and off in that sense. Yeah.
I also read an intriguing story about Mickey T. I'm not sure how true this is, but apparently he did 18 months behind bars.
He went in the slam, extorting
counterfeit. No, yeah. Well, apparently it was like a counterfeit money type deal, and he was laundering it through some of the youth players at Wrexham. So he must have been like paying him in counterfeit money to launder it back into the system. Maybe I don't know. But he did a year and a half in the slammer apparently. So
I knew that he went to jail, and but I thought it was for extortion or something. I thought he got mixed up with the wrong crowd in Brill or something again. But yeah, well, he is probably the only person we're going to talk about in this whole thing that's done a bit of time behind bars. So
it's got to be expected when your place of birth literally translates to Pigtown. He's from Mochtre, right? Isn't he?
I think he's from Mochtre. Yeah, I don't know what hospital is there in Mochtre though. Usually, you look at these profiles and stuff. You bother with Bangor, and Queensferry as well. But Mochtre, I don't know if he grew up there or what, but Mochtre's literally like Neville.
Well, you see, in a Pigtown, they usually call the hospital the farm or the veterinarian surgery, but I don't know.
But yeah, like Neville Southall and Joey Jones are also from Llandudno. Mochtre's right on the border.
Good friends with Joey Jones, wasn't he?
I believe so. We both played for Wrexham at the same time. So, but that's where we sort of, for context as well, that's where I think we cut off the border, isn't it? Llandudno being the last town in North East Wales for us. Some might take.
Are we basically cutting off at the end of Conwy then?
More or less, yeah. I think
pretty much, because then anywhere sort of Gwynedd and Ynys Môn.
Gwynedd, Ynys Môn, Ceredigion for me is northwest Wales. Ceredigion, you could count as both
sort of down to Aberystwyth-ish.
Yeah, I always think of Aberystwyth as the line for me of
sort of.
So there's parts of Ceredigion I think that I would class as northwest, like Meirionydd basically. Meirionydd doesn't exist anymore, does it? But it used to be like Bala, Dalgella, and places like that, but it doesn't exist anymore really because of the new sort of system with the regions and stuff. But that's basically where we cut it off, I think, for us, isn't it? Is Llandudno the furthest northwest and cutting it straight down. So I think Bala just about I would sort of class as West Wales more because of sort of the anthropological side of it, with it having a really heavily Welsh-speaking population and stuff like that. I think North East Wales is much less Welsh-speaking. What's really the North East Walian accent is one that's really hard to define because you have the Rill side of it and everything, which is a bit Scouse and that, but then you get those from like a bit, Old Rill or Colwyn Bay and places like this, and Wrexham as well, that have a very particular accent. Very, very particular. It's really hard to describe. Like a really good example. My dad's got for me a very North East Walian accent.
Oh yeah.
And like Neil Crud. Do you know Neil Crud?
Yeah.
His accent is very North East Walian for me, and it's so hard to explain. I really can't put my finger on what differentiates it from everything else. But I'll think on it and try and think of a way to say it. But for me personally, I don't think I have a very North East Walian accent. For me, I speak with them like I think my accent's quite Scouse in many ways, and also with a bit more of a Welsh, like West Walian tinge, for various reasons and everything. But a North East Walian accent, pure, that you sort of tend to hear in the race ground most frequently, is a beautiful thing for me.
Oh yeah, especially when you're like me and you fight in a losing battle because all your mates are either Scouse or Mancunian, and then your parents from the West Midlands. So what can you do about that? Oh, right. Well, do you want my right winger anyway, since I've put old Mickey T on the left? So I have gone really, really, really deep into the history of Welsh
Here we
football
go,
for
here
this
we
next
go.
pick. This is actually the oldest player I've selected.
Are you going to be able to keep this up with the rest of the match? Bloody hell, you're going.
No,
so
this is
far
the
back.
oldest player I've selected. Oh, for the rest of the squads.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I hope you can. I'm enjoying
I mean,
it.
there's
It's a
been
bit of
multiple
a
eras of
lesson,
football,
isn't it?
so that's right. So this gentleman was considered one of the early superstars of football, and he made over 300 appearances for both Manchester City and Manchester United
I think I know who this is.
from 1894 to 1924. He's from a place called Chirk in Denbighshire, Mr. Billy Meredith.
Billy Meredith. Aye. So this person came to my attention because of the Ellis James documentary thing. But I was going to include him in my team, but I thought I'm not going to be able to back it up with the raw facts, and I really want to get Mickey T in there. So,
Yeah.
But go on, tell me, give us your spiel because I'm interested.
I've had a bit of a dig. So he played for Chirk, first of all. I could not find out how many appearances or how long he was there for. Then he joined Northwich Victoria, who are a club that's still knocking about in non-league football. And then he joined Man City in 1894, so 6 years before the turn of the 20th century. In 12 years there, he scored 129 goals, and then he switched over to the red side of Manchester. For the era of football he played in, sort of predating Leigh Roose, actually, but it was still quite a much more physical game than it is now. Billy was quite well known for his tricky style of play, utilising his excellent balance and agility to avoid quite clumsy tackles, let's be honest, thrown about in the early game. He was quite revered for his direct style of play and crossing ability, quite similar to like Stanley Matthews, maybe coming a bit later. So I forgot what was the position they called it, like an outside right. So basically sort of the equivalent of a right winger nowadays. But yeah, that was what they called it then. In terms of like trophies, now he was quite a decorated player in terms of the titles won in his day. I think he won a Welsh Cup with Chirk in 1894, and he won the second division title and the FA Cup with City, and then 2 first division titles and 2 further FA Cups with Man United. So 3 FA Cups altogether, second division and 2 first division titles.
Sure. I think he was heralded as one of the best players in the world for his era.
Yeah.
No? Is it him who used to play as well with a matchstick or something?
Yes, he used to have a toothpick in.
A toothpick there.
It was a bit of a trademark.
Yeah, another one who fought in the war as well, I believe, no?
I think so, yeah. He didn't pass away in the war, I think, but he did have a bit of a break in his career due to First World War breaking out. Because it would have been about that time, wouldn't it? Because he didn't finish until 1924.
I think he's another one of them that didn't want to go professional, but sort of duly obliged in the end, you know?
Yeah. But he got 48 caps for Wales. That was over, I think about 35. Yeah, it was 1895 to 1920. So that's 35 years. But games were more sporadic back then. So to have that long representing your country, I think he scored 11 times as well.
A proud Welsh speaker as well, I'm led to believe. Yeah. But very cool.
They were he was a part of the Welsh side that won the British Home Championships in 1907 and 1920. So
have you ever been to Chirk? I've never been. It's got
I've never been. No,
I've never been to Chirk. I couldn't even point it out.
Is it one of the Iron Ring castles, or? I imagine
no.
So, because a lot of them are around North East Wales.
I'm trying to think if it's in Denbighshire. Where would Chirk be in Denbighshire? I imagine south, like towards. Yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna have a look. Chirk. Let's have a look at Chirk on a map.
While you're looking that up, the other little fact about Mr. Meredith I found, he's actually Man City's oldest ever player. He represented City in his second spell at the side, aged 49 years old and 245 days. That was unfortunately in a 2-1 FA Cup semi-final defeat to Newcastle United, but near enough 50 years old, still playing football. I know it's a different era, but
it's something, isn't it?
People weren't really living past like 60 odd then, were they? So like you're playing at near enough 50 years old. That's crazy.
Chirk is maybe it was Denbighshire in the past, but it's between Rwabon and Llangollen.
Oh, right. Well, that'd be County Wrexham then, or?
Wrexham, it must be, yeah. Well, but still, very interesting. An interesting character as well as player.
Another little history lesson for that. That's the thing with some of the older players. I've quite enjoyed just sort of digging up some of the archive reports on them and sort of having second-hand accounts of what they did, because there's barely any footage of these guys playing. So it's just like sort of hearing about a sort of figure in folklore.
Right. Well, that's very interesting, Martin. You've gone far deeper than I have. I'm starting to feel a bit guilty.
No, mate, no. Well, you did yours like a few weeks ago.
I did it a while ago.
A few weeks ago. I have finished. I finished researching Billy Meredith and my striker this morning. So I've spent a bit longer digging. You were a good boy and did yours like we all said we would.
Well, for me, my left winger, I've gone for another Wrexham resident in Harry Wilson, the King of Corwen. So again, maybe I'll get a bit of stick for this one because I don't know. He's although he's actually played quite a few games for us now and stuff, he's still sort of like, you could argue, a newbie. He's not really ever made a massive stamp on the first team where he's been a first choice player, but I think that has a lot more to do with his positioning than anything else. But I've chosen Harry Wilson, left winger. 29 caps he's racked up so far. He was also Wales's, I think he still is Wales's youngest ever debutant, or whatever you want to say. He came out, his first game was at the age of 16 and 207 days. I can't remember when or who they played against, but youngest ever player for us in that sense. 29 caps, 5 goals. The goal that stands out for me, and I'm sure most people, is a free kick against the Republic of Ireland.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that one? A screamer, a great kick. Harry Wilson, for me, another one of the main reasons I chose him as well, a dead ball specialist. We don't really, apart from Mickey Thomas, I suppose, we don't have one of them in this team. But Harry Wilson, for me, I've got a massive soft spot for him as well, because a Liverpool player, although he's never broken into the first team, I've followed his career very, very closely. I'm a big fan. He is the King of Corwen at the end of the day. I don't know. Have you ever been to Corwen?
No.
Tiny
I don't
little
think
village.
I should have, actually.
Tiny little village between Llangollen and Wrexham again. It's famous.
Is Corwen the birthplace of Owen Glyndwr?
I think.
Or is that...
Glyndwr, but Glyndwr, I don't even know it exists as a village anymore. It's tiny, but...
Is that the one where they have the statue of him?
Exactly, yeah. It's the closest thing to it, I think. Yeah, so Corwen is where they've got the big statue of Owen Glyndwr. Worth a visit, always. There's also a nice little bakery that I've gone to a few times that I like. There's a little walk you can do in Corwen as well to go to the hill. I believe it's the hill, I'm not 100% certain, but I think it's the hill where Owen Glyndwr declared himself the Prince of Wales and everything else. So a bit of a historical thing with him as well. But Harry Wilson, I love him. I think he's great. I think he was unfortunate not to get more playing time again in this Euros. I think he could have done as good a job, if not better, than Ramsey in that false 9 role that really didn't suit him. During the Euros on this podcast, I was calling for it to see Ramsey drop deeper to get more involved and have Harry Wilson as that false 9. Gutted for him, he didn't get the chance. He got sent off in his one. Well, did he get 2 appearances? I think he came on as a sub in another game. But he got sent off. Did, yeah. He got sent off against Denmark for. I still haven't watched that tackle a second time because it
wasn't a red card, mate.
Because I just can't handle it. Yeah.
Don't do it to yourself. Just know that it wasn't a red card. It wasn't a straight red card, at least. You know, if he was on a yellow card and he'd done another foul since then, I can understand him being sent off.
But there you go. I think probably I think he will be the only Wales player to have ever been sent off in a major tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's
another thing.
That's another record for us. Not a record you want. But...
Nico Williams got sent off against France for some ridiculous decision for the handball. Robbie Savage got sent off several times, I believe, in his international career. So it's probably North East Wales, we could argue, the fieriest.
Yeah, Kevin Ratcliffe's got a bit of a reputation for it as well.
There you go.
As I mentioned earlier.
Mickey Thomas going down and everything.
Yeah.
So, there you go. Right then. So we're coming to our centre forwards. So I've got 2 centre forwards. You've got 1 centre forward and a number 10, yeah?
Yep.
So I'm interested to hear your number 10.
I was going to say, shall I do my number 10 first? Because I said to you before we came on, I wanted to include a player from the first era I remember watching Wales. So that's why I've shoehorned in a number 10. I've not put him in necessarily for how good he was for us internationally, more or less for what a talent he could have been. And often described by the press as a mercurial talent, but didn't really have the desire to get to that level that he could have been. Another Wrexham lad. I do believe he came through Liverpool's academy system. He was in the same like class as Steven Gerrard, or the same era as Steven Gerrard, but he made his pro debut for Tranmere. Probably most recognised for his time at West Brom and Cardiff City. 177 league appearances for West Brom and 67 in 2 loan spells for Cardiff. Bit of a modern cult hero at West Brom as well, so I've read. Can you work out who I'm talking about from
It's
that?
Jason Kumas.
It is Jason Kumas.
I thought he was
Very
South
well done.
Walian.
Apparently, he's from Wrexham. I don't know how right this is.
No, I believe you more than me because I didn't dig deep enough. I sort of ruled them out in my head because I would have probably included Jason Kumas because
I assumed he was South Walian, but I think I looked at the clubs he played for, and Liverpool and Tranmere. I thought, come on, he's got to be a North East Walian if he's getting scouted by those teams. I think all the lads we went to school with that had trials with teams, it was usually Tranmere.
Tranmere, yeah, you're right. Or Shrewsbury as well. Shrewsbury.
Yeah.
But Jason Kumas, I absolutely loved growing up. My dad loved Jason Kumas as well. He'd always be saying, you know, like if Kumas was on the pitch, you've got a chance. But it's interesting what you say. Like you're right. He disappeared off the face of the earth, didn't he?
When I was doing the research, one of the articles was genuinely called "Where is Jason Kumas?"
Well, there you go. He just disappeared off the scene completely. He just won one round of international fixtures. He didn't get picked, and then that was him. A really weird one.
Because he had a bit of a time where he didn't show up for a few training sessions.
Right.
I think he was dropped for the end of that camp. Then he was recalled, and he scored 3 goals in 2 games or something like that in 2 friendly. I think they were against like Liechtenstein and Cyprus, but still, like,
it's not to be scoffed,
come back out of the cold and score 3 and 2. That's nothing to sniff at.
Yeah,
I think he had 34 caps for Wales overall. He made his debut in 2001, so I was like 4, you were 5. Missed out on Euro 2004 with that Mark Hughes team in the playoff against Russia. Scored 10 times for his country as well, including those 2 and 3 games after getting in trouble for missing the training session. You know, while some people do question his attitude, you cannot deny the talent he possesses. There's a really good goal that's on one of his highlight reels on YouTube. I think it was the 2002-2003 season. Scored against Man United. I believe it was at Old Trafford as well. Just intercepted the ball on the halfway line. Didn't really get challenged, sort of running down the pitch, but just kept dribbling and cutting angles. Drove a love shot into the bottom corner from about 25 yards out. Exquisite finish from a very talented player.
Sure. It is a massive shame. Jason Kumas is definitely one of them that got away, isn't he? Unfortunately.
I think he captained Wales on a few occasions as well. I seem to vaguely remember that.
His influence was massive at the time.
Oh, yeah.
I was really young, but I think probably apart from now, I mean, I think everybody, apart from the real diehards, had a bit of a period in the middle where they sort of went off Welsh football or whatever.
Yeah.
But for me, growing up, Jason Kumas, that team, I love that team so much. Jason Kumas,
Simon Davis,
Danny Gabidon, Gary Speed, you know, Robert Earnshaw, these players, I love them players. You know, I proper love them players. So that's a good shout, Jason Kumas. I kind of wish I'd included him now instead of Robbie Savage. Oh well.
Yeah, that's why I flexed on my formation a bit. So.
Yeah, well, interesting one. Right, I'm going to go for then. I'm pretty sure we're going to have the last 2 players the same, to be honest with you. It would be a bit. I
think you might be surprised because I think I've purposely not done this to give a bit of variety. Oof, but let's see, go. You fire away, sir.
Let's see if you get some grief for not including these 2 players. So I'm going to say my 2, okay? So up front, for me, I've got Sparky and I've got Rushy.
Okay.
Had to be for me. I mean, just had to be.
Okay. I was torn between putting Sparky in midfield, but I wanted to accommodate Speeder.
Right.
And I knew you were going to pick Ian Rush because you're a massive Liverpool fan and he's such an iconic player for Wales. So I had not a really deep dig again, but I had a dig into the 60s and found a striker that was pretty good. So just to make it a bit more of a debate, to go against you. So, but go ahead. Talk about whichever one you want to go for first.
So if you haven't included Rushy, I'm going to include Rushy, right? So Ian Rush, what can you say? The mustache, the celebration with the arms in the air, you know, everything about him is iconic.
Goal against Germany.
The goal against Germany, man, everything. You know, an absolute hero. I think he used to be the top goal scorer for Wales before Gareth Bale took it off him. He was a stalwart for Wales for the longest time, like for ages. I think he played for 16 years at international level, which is not bad going, to be honest. He's surprisingly young nowadays, because you see him in the pictures and the videos and stuff in the past. He looks like he's in his 30s.
Barely aged, yeah.
He would have been like in his early 20s.
He doesn't look like he's aged much between the time he's finished playing and now. He's just a bit grayer.
He's not even 60, man, and he's 59. But you look at the photos and I think, God, that's what he looked like in his early 20s. He looks younger now, almost. But 73 caps for Wales. So again, a real high cap player. Again, would have gone into triple figures had we qualified for tournaments. We should have. We really should have with that generation, you know, with Ian Rush, with Mark Hughes, Mickey T, Kevin Ratcliffe, these players, we really should have. And it's such a massive, Dean Saunders as well. It's a massive shame that we never did, because I think if we did get to it, that is the kind of team that would do well at a tournament as well. So it's a shame, really. But yeah, Ian Rush, I was going to say as well, for me, the iconic moment for me is that goal against Germany for the 1-0 win. I just love him. I love him so much. He's a quality player. He played for Wrexham for a little while, although it didn't go very well. He played for Juventus, I believe. So he's one of the only Welsh players to really go abroad. He didn't really make a massive success out of it. And I think he came back after a season or so. I think he came back to Liverpool on loan as well. But he didn't do badly there at all, because so I've read in those days, the Italian league was like the lowest scoring league in Europe because of the quality of the defense and everything. So he scored, you know, a decent amount of goals, which for the time would have been really impressive. But on paper, it doesn't really translate as that nowadays. But for me, Ian Rush, I think Wales' most iconic striker, probably best striker. Yeah. It's a position we've always sort of struggled to fill, really. I mean, we've had some really great players in the past, but no one like Ian Rush, who is a prolific, world-beating centre forward. You know, my other top centre forwards, I'd say probably Nathan Blake, Robert Earnshaw, like I mentioned earlier, and my other centre forward as well, which is Sparky, right? So I don't know really. Again, Sparky's before my time in the playing days. I remember Sparky most of all as a manager, because he was the manager of the team when I was starting to get into Welsh football and everything as a kid. It's weird how much I remember from that era, because he left in 2004, so I would have been 8. But I remember it so well. I remember it far better than I remember watching football in my teenage years and stuff. You know, the quality.
Probably you going to a lot of games as well.
I used to go to a lot of games in those days as well. Yeah, I think my parents have got a mate at Prestatyn Football Club who gets tickets from the allocation to the teams and stuff, and he always sort of hooked us up. Yeah, I just remember it so well. The value of sobriety, I guess, in that sense. But Mark Hughes, 72 caps, so one less than Ian Rush, unlucky. 16 goals, so again, in terms of Welsh football, a prolific goal scorer for us in that sense. Like I said, the position I'm a bit blurry on, because I don't know him that well in that sense as a player. I've really just seen highlights and videos and stuff, and sort of heard the legends and stuff like this. But another lad from Rwabon, which is where the FAW was conceived. 2 main career moments I've picked out. One is the goal against England on his debut, like we talked about earlier, in 1984 under Mike England as manager. The second is that goal against Spain. Probably the second best goal in Wales' history. Sorry, Sparky, but Robson Canu's got to have that title, innit?
He did turn 3 defenders.
Exactly. In the words of Robbie Savage, for a pie and a packet of crisps or whatever it was. But that goal against Spain, when we beat Spain 3-0 in a World Cup qualifier, the rocket off his boot, man, that half volley, unbelievable. And if you have any doubt about Sparky and how good he was, you just have to watch that goal and your questions will be answered. A Welsh player that went abroad and really made a big success out of it, did well at Barcelona, did well at Bayern Munich, came up the other day, didn't it, actually, with think how he played one game for Wales and then for Bayern Munich in the same day, getting a flight out to Mönchengladbach, whatever that is, or whatever.
Yeah, I think that was that one.
So yeah, Mark Hughes has to be there for me. So that completes my 11, right? So you're missing one, no? No.
I'm missing a striker.
Oh, go on.
I just, let's say for me as well, personally, I remember Mark Hughes best as a manager. Probably for me, because I wasn't really into it. I didn't understand that international football existed until about 2007, 8. And at that time, Sparky was actually the Man City manager. And that's about the time all the oil money started coming in. So they were basically signing everyone and their dog.
Robinho, he got in, wasn't
it? Yep. That's all we'll say about Robinho. But he did, at the time, break the British transfer record for him with £32.5 million from... it was AC Milan or Real Madrid. I think it was AC Milan. He'd already been at Madrid, hadn't he?
So. Something like this, yeah.
But yeah, a bit like a certain synonymous manager. We don't talk about Robinho. But yeah, my other my only striker, because I've only picked one, unlike some people, because got to keep it current with the formations, mate. We're not going back to a 4-4-2, are we? That'd be... We haven't got one striker, let alone two. Come on. Oh yeah, we've got one. So yeah, I wanted to add a bit of variety because Ian Rush is a shoe-in. Sparky's a great shout, but I had him potentially in a different position just to bulk up the numbers a bit. Gone for a man from Holywell, who is a well-loved figure at Southampton, who played over 240 times in the league for the Saints between 1966 and 1973. A fella called Ronald Davis. He's actually from the same school as Mike England, and the pair did actually represent Wales together in like the same era internationally. Ron was already an established Welsh footballer Welsh international footballer, by the time he joined the Saints. They did actually break their club record fee at the time of signing. It was £55,000 from Norwich City. He joined Southampton for their first season in the First Division, actually. He went on a really good run, scoring 12 goals in 10 consecutive league games. And he did actually finish with 37 goals in 41 games that season. Oof. The following season as well, he was actually joint top scorer in the First Division with George Best at Man United. So
Jesus Christ.
That's how
I've not heard of this person. I've never heard of him.
Well, 60. This is before our era of... this is probably before your dad's era as well, because my mum wasn't born until 1970. So I imagine your parents are the same age. Yeah. There you go. So that's about the time Ron Davis was playing for Wales. So.
I reckon that if he went to school in Holywell, he'd gone to the same school as my mum in St. Winifred's.
Yeah, he might have done actually.
Quite possibly, yeah, quite possibly. But that's... I'll have
to do a bit more digging.
Aye, that'd be worth knowing. That'd be a claim to fame. My mum went to the same school as Mike England and Ron Davis, who I've just learned about today. But there you go.
But yeah, for Wales, Ron did earn 29 caps. He did take a few years to establish like a regular spot in the starting 11. But he did create a very good strike partnership with another Davis called Wyn Davis. And they did actually torment the defences at I think it was the 68-69 British Home Championships. I think he scored 2 or 3 goals in that tournament. I think 3. And he got 9 goals overall for Wales in his 29 caps. So not a bad return for a striker on an international front. He did start to deal with injuries a bit more frequently later in his career, so the goals did dry up a bit more. I think it was more of an era where defenders were looking to start playing through the man as opposed to playing the ball, so that's always going to happen. But he was quite a big, powerful striker, so they were sort of trying to match fire with fire. By all accounts as well, he was a very talented caricaturist and had published cartoons and drawings in certain publications. I haven't been able to find any, but I'm going to keep looking. So I'm really intrigued actually to see what they look like.
What a great talent to have on the team bus. You know?
I know, it's just killing time, isn't it? That'd be great. Oh, draw me on board. Yeah. Can I stick a flare up your ass and you can do 3 grams of coke for an England game?
Right then, let's have a recap then. Yeah. I don't know if we can choose a definitive 11. Maybe we'll do it at the end of like the series in general. Because they're so varied and it's so difficult.
With the eras as well, it's completely subjective.
100%. So let's go through it. So for me, my 11 was a 4-4-2 formation. Neville Southall in goal. At right back, Nico Williams. At left back, Joey Jones. Centre backs for me were Mike England and James Chester. Kevin Ratcliffe missing out because I'm biased towards Real. Sorry. Centre mid, Gary Speed and Robbie Savage for that classic double act that we saw in the early 2000s. Right wing, Mickey Thomas, Mickey T of Wrexham, and left wing, Harry Wilson, the King of Corwin. Finally, up front, my two strikers or centre forwards really would be Mark Hughes and Ian Rush. So when we come down to it, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players born in Wrexham or the surrounding, Rwabon, Kevin, whatever. So I've got 5 players from Wrexham, so it goes to show, doesn't it? Corwin as well, including Harry Wilson.
I think a big chunk of mine are from either Wrexham or sort of towns surrounding like Rwabon and Holt and there was another one.
Chirk,
yeah.
Go on then,
anyway,
Martin.
I'll go through mine. I've gone slightly different. I played a 4-3-3 with the sort of upward triangle where you've got a number 10 and 2 sort of central midfielders. In goal, I've gone for Leigh Roose. Defence going right to left. I'm playing James Chester as an auxiliary right back because Sonny Real mofos. I've got TG Jones, Thomas George Jones at centre back paired with Kevin Ratcliffe. And then I'm playing Mr. Joey Jones on the left side at left back. In central midfield, I've got Gary Speed and Alvon Griffiths paired together with Jason Kumas at the tip of the spear, if you could call it that.
I love it, yeah.
I'll go with that.
I'll accept it.
Going right to left across the front three, I've got Mr. Billy Meredith, probably the oldest man I know facts about. Mr. Ron Davis at centre forward, and Mickey T in the place to be, hanging out on the left and hopefully not getting stabbed in the butt.
All the way left into dizzy vents.
Right. I wish that guy had left him alone. But...
right, well, excellent, Martin. So there we have it. There's our
we've had a good old digger for some facts there.
It's been very interesting.
Put some good 11s together. I think we should just make sort of both of ours and stick them out there and let everyone decide 100%. What they think.
I think deciding the best one would be too difficult. Maybe we put up a poll or something. I don't know. But some really interesting choices there. This has made me really excited for the rest of the series, to be honest.
Mate. I feel like we've both learned a lot as well, because so you picked up on a lot of facts that I didn't, and sort of with the different players we've chosen as well.
Sure.
I think quite a few of mine came from Flintshire and Conway as well, whereas, I had a few from Wrexham as well, but you think with the big club in North Wales being Wrexham, you're going to get a lot of players.
Hollywell, you've got a couple from Queen's Ferry and that.
Connors Quay, Queen's Ferry, sort of D-side areas.
Right. Very interesting. At the end of the day, it's all subjective. Everyone will have a different opinion, but what we've really done there is got sort of like a new and old in that sense. And you've done great in picking out some interesting facts.
But also, it sort of puts a bit of pride in you being from North East Wales and
100%.
thinking we've had all these players and we can't even pick 11 and come up with sort of exactly the same 11 because there's that many.
Exactly. I mean, this is a podcast of gogs, to be honest, so we could probably do getting a 1-to-1 for the South Wales side of things. But what can you do? Bunch of lads from Rhyl and Prestatyn in it. We'll try and get Lewis. We'll try and squeeze it out of him to do his own 11. I won't make any promises because he's a busy man, is Lewis. He's a busy man.
He's got a lot on his plate and he's working hard.
And he doesn't suffer fools as we do in that sense as well. So there we go. But excellent. Well, that'll about wrap us up, no?
Yeah, I think we've had a good little chinwag today. I have absolutely no idea how long this episode is going to be because
it's going to be quite a
2 parts.
Big one. Maybe we'll have to cut little bits out of it because it's going to be long.
I think you're touching like 5 to 1 in Spanish time now. 1, so
just for context, because we started this at 10 o'clock, so we've been at it.
Yeah, we did. So we have nearly been at it 2 hours. I'm surprised my AirPods haven't died in this time or anything like that because they're usually copping out by this point.
Fired on the electricity of this conversation.
Thank you very much to everyone that's tuned in now. I've really enjoyed this today. I'm really looking forward to doing the next one.
100%. Aye.
It can be a bit of a pain digging around because you don't know where every player that's played for Wales is born. So you're basically just Googling names for the first hour of your research. But you just come up with you find little stories and sort of like, I wouldn't have known who Leigh Roose was until sort of a couple of weeks ago when I actually Googled who's a goalkeeper that's from North East Wales that isn't Big Nev.
Aye, well, hopefully people will have learnt something from this as well. So there you go.
Fantastic. We'll be back same time next week. Anyway, I'm not sure what we'll be talking about. I'll have hopefully we'll have some positive results from Europa Conference League
Yeah,
first
best of luck
legs,
to
first
KNS and
Lions test as well.
well, they lost the first like practice one, innit? But yeah, I think
Yeah,
you're
because
right,
it was the select
yeah,
South
South Africa
Africa
A.
A.
Yeah, whatever that means.
I think they had like 8 or 9 test players in that A side that basically didn't this. And it's like you said, it was basically sort of a dress rehearsal for the first test. But I guess we can talk a bit about that, and we'll have a little dig out of the music since it's been very sport heavy.
That's a good point. That's very
Tonight,
good point. I've forgotten all
I'll
about
listen to a
music,
few albums. We'll see what we come up with.
There you are then. Perfect. Right.
Lovely.
Pleasure, Martini.
You too, buddy. See you next week, and thank you very much for listening, everyone. Diolch yn fawr iawn.